There's one pattern I've noticed with Mr. Ruto. So he's attacking what I'd call the social infrastructure, healthcare, education. So clearly, education that we knew from Kibaki time, the free education, right now is going to be a privilege. So we are sliding back to a very illiterate generation.
We need to open our minds and understand what's happening, because it's not about tribal anymore. It's about Kenyan, all of us. Because kama hakuna dawa kwa Mkikuyu, hakuna dawa kwa Mjaluo, hakuna dawa kwa Mkamba, hakuna dawa kwa Mluo. It's so about us, a Kenya, as a collective. So when we are voting for our leaders, we need just accountability, integrity. Usiangalia ati huyo ni Mjaluo, simvoti. Huyo ni Mkikuyu, simvoti. I don't care where you come from.
Kenyans, we are heavy on religion, which is a good thing. But do you think it's a good thing when it merges with our politics?
What we are having here is now a religion or Christianity being used now to probably support the state when the religion has no business supporting the state.
The religious thing that Ruto has thrown into the table is actually even more of a bigger distraction. Why is he centering us to focus on a church project, which I can guarantee you will probably never be realized? This is another distraction that is really taking us off center. We've not thought of that.
Everybody has been asking, what can we do? The solution is very simple. If we all wake up today and follow the Constitution, that piece of paper, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
We don't need a savior. We don't need a hero. We don't need US aid. We don't need UN aid. We don't need nothing.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of LNS. My name is Lynn, Ngugi, and guys, I'm truly humbled because I get to have another thought-provoking conversation. I know you guys are used to our studio, but this time we are visiting the UK. We actually came here for Lydia Tet's event, Kenya and Friends in the Park, which was absolutely lovely. But you know, we said what? We are not going back home before we have a deep conversation or a deeper conversation with some of our brothers and sisters who live in the UK. I'm about to get into the conversation of the day, but before that, let's watch this clip.
So what I'm wondering is, if we Gen Zs don't understand the mountain narrative, how are you going to engage us and find a way to position yourself or position these politics beyond one term and beyond the defense of Mulima? And by the way, I'm not embarrassed to be Kikuyu. I'm from Kirinyaga and Nyeri. You know, you can't get Kikuyu than that. You know, I'm very Kikuyu, but we have, you know, but that's just the truth. How are you going to convince us? Because, you know, I'm trying to explain to you the way we see it, right? We are tribeless and we are fearless. And the politics being done now is the way it was done 20 years ago, 10 years ago, you know. And that is what is really scaring us, because if we divide ourselves, if you say you're coming to the defense of Mulima, then there's someone in I don't know, Rift Valley or Western, who will also say they are going to that defense. And then there will be another group, I don't know, in, where? Coasts, yeah, we are going to that defense. And then now, there will be a vacuum gap, and then Ruto will become president.
Now, what you just watched there is this young lady who was actually talking to Gachagua. You know, Gachagua has his tour in the US. And I know why this clip is going viral, because people are starting to open up about what they truly feel about bad governance, tribalism, and what sets us apart as Kenyans. And I was so happy to see this young girl talking and stating, you know, just making sure that Gachagua understands that, guys, we cannot keep having politics around the tribal narrative. That has to stop. And when I was having a conversation with my guests today, even before we started rolling these cameras, I asked them, what do you want us to achieve with this conversation? And they went straight on. They said, Lynn, this is a national issue. Lynn, the reason they are kidnapping and killing us is because they want to instill fear in us. Lynn, we need people to come together and start talking about matters affecting Kenya. Another one said that, Lynn, we need to stop electing the same leaders over and over. And you're going to hear more of these thoughts on today's conversation. And I want you to go on the comment section and tell us what your thoughts are, because I know it's only by having these conversations that we are going to change our nation one story at a time. Before I let them introduce themselves, of course, I want to say thank you so much to Omega TV here in the UK. Our friend Joe has been kind enough to lend us his studio one more time for us to be able to hold these conversations there. So Omega TV UK, thank you so much. And you guys go and subscribe to their platform as well, just to know that, you know what, we really do appreciate them. I know I've spoken a lot, so without further ado, please allow me to let my guests introduce themselves so that we can get right into the conversation of the day. Yeah, so maybe I start with you, or do I go right there?
Absolutely, I'm more than happy to start.
All right, so introduce yourself.
My name is Kebuye Wairongo.
Eh.
I'm the chairperson of Awado, which is a hub for creating the next generation of African leaders in the continent. I'd also like to state, as I mentioned prior, that I'm publishing a book this year called The Cousins Revolution, which is all about what has been taking place during the Gen Z protests and the upheaval that has been taking place in the Republic of Kenya as of 2024 and 2025.
Great to have you here.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Janet Sutton. I live in the UK. I'm a mother of 2 kids, and I work in healthcare. I'm a specialized in cancer. I look after all patients with cancer. So if you have any question, you can ask me in regards to cancer care. Thank you.
Great. Sir?
Right. My name is Tony Kagwene. I'm a businessman, and I'm in the healthcare sector, providing healthcare support in the private healthcare sector in the UK, and I also do business between here and Kenya. So I'm conversant with some of the things that happen in Kenya because I'm trotting between the two countries very, very often.
All right. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Lynn, for having me here. Thank you.
Dear. Hello, my name is Tekla Otieno. I'm a healthcare worker here in the UK, and I'm also a political activist in Kenya. So I work with one of the political aspirants in Kenya. So we try to, educate people with regards to political awareness in the UK and in Kenya, and also try to get more people to register as voters, get their IDs. Yes, so that's the primary role that I do as now. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, nice to have you, Tekla.
Hi, my name is Oliver Mboya. I'm a resident of the UK. I'm a Kenyan, and I work in automotive logistics. And I'm also a farmer, coffee farmer in Kenya through my father at home.
All right. Nice to have you, Oliver, on the show. Guys, I know we are about to get into a very deep conversation, but Ruto was here the other day. That might be maybe a couple of weeks ago. How was the reception? Some people said, you know what, this reception was very much fake. That's not how people feel here. People definitely might not have wanted him here, but I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth. How was that like for you, having him here in the UK?
I think for me, when Ruto was coming, it had been dormant for a while. You know, there's usually like a team of people in the UK who are usually organizing things to do with Maandamano and the movement. And everybody had just been in their own space, doing their own thing, and we hadn't come together collectively for a while. And then all of a sudden, when he was about to turn up, my phone started ringing, and I was wondering, oh, what's going on? And somebody was like, oh, Ruto's coming. And it caught me off guard because I really hadn't been following where he'd been for the past, I think, months. I really didn't want to know. I feel like my focus had shifted to wanting to find ways to productively push the movement forward. Yeah. And knowing where he was for me, where he's flying, who he's meeting, what he's doing, it didn't seem to develop any level of productivity in terms of helping us achieve the goal that we're trying to achieve, which is, getting the country to a level where we want to get it to. I think Kibuyi mentioned earlier when we were discussing it, the point that I have here is that he is a distraction. and a lot of things are very well choreographed. You know, they've gone to school, they've studied politics, they've studied the way people think and the way people react. So when they sit down and they have meetings, they set up things and they do things in ways to distract people and to turn them away from thinking, we should be doing this. So when people said, we want to go and make a big deal that Ruto's coming and really let him know that we don't want him here, it was prior to Sabasaba. So Sabasaba and his arrival were very close.
Yeah.
And for me, I was thinking it's more important that we sit down and have discussions on what we're going to do for Sabasaba as a collective. Who is carrying flags? Where are we doing mandamano? Are we supporting people at home? If we are, how are we doing this? And that's kind of how it was for me when he came about. Yeah.
All right. And one of the things, Tony, you said before we even started the conversation, you said this is not about Ruto.
It's not about
actually.
Ruto.
What is this about?
I think for me, first and foremost, yes, I agree with you. It's not about Ruto. And it's about the direction that we want our country to go. And even in the worst case scenario, even if Ruto was to rule until 2032, he would still go. And there would still be a country. So for me, I think it's important, even as we say Ruto must go, that we look at the space between now and 2027, and in the unlikely event that he wins that election, even if he was to go beyond and go up to 2032, where is he going to leave Kenya? Right? Because by the time Ruto retires, he will be about 63. If he goes up to 2032, he will be about 60. He will be about 63, 64. Okay, so we still have a country. And even if he lives to 100, we'll still have a country beyond Ruto at 100. So the conversation that I would want people to have, and I encourage, the reason why I'm here, mixing up with the Gen Zs here, which I hope respectively I can refer you to as Gen Zs because of the age difference that we have here, is that this is a conversation about your country. And as I said earlier, one of the reasons why I didn't find a lot of value in that visit and why I didn't bother too much about it is because it doesn't connect very well with where I would want to see Kenya beyond Ruto. So for me, I would agree with you that he is a very, very serious distraction. And I think also it's also very curious. Most of these conversations about when Ruto or the president is coming to the country, you would have heard rumors a month ago, 2 weeks before, or 3 weeks before, because there will be organizations, or there will be a dinner here, there will be a conversations here. Some of us, even though I'm very, very politically active, I didn't get to know about it for just within almost a week before he arrived here.
Nobody really knew. There was no whispers or anything.
And you see, Lynn, this is why I say it's curious is because it's a psychological war here that is being fought, which you apply to the diaspora community, just like you apply it into the Kenyan community. In which sense? Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when you look at the way people work in the West, people know, we adhere to the timings, we work with integrity. When you say you're going to be at a certain place at a certain time, you're there. So if you have committed to your boss that you're going to be at work, you're going to be there. So a short period of time when you're being asked, you couldn't even organize yourself to go and get your flag and go and tell Ruto what we would want to tell him. So to me, even that short notice of just a few days for us to know, it is also playing into the psyche of you don't want the people who could have probably take some break off their work to show up. So that once you tell only the people who are system connected, then those ones, you can give them a good advance notice so that they can organize themselves. And that's why we say it is a fake. It's a facade that you find out people turning there, and you're wondering, where did these people come from? How did they organize themselves in a short period of about 5 days or 6 days? So for me, it didn't add value. And for me, what drives me in my life is every time I do something, it is with the intention to add value to whoever is responding to me or whoever is watching to me, watching what we are conversing here today, that I would add value in what I say. So that visit had no value to a lot of people as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Janet, to Tony, the visit might not have had value, but during the conference or during the speech, he portrayed Kenya as a very successful country. From where you are sitting, how do you view Kenya at the moment? And do you think him visiting in UK in the midst of all the chaos, the killings that are happening in the country, do you think that was done in good faith?
So for me, first of all, I've always been saying this, and I've always been saying to many people, not just in regards to Kenya, but as Africa as a continent, because I'm very Pan-African. And one thing I was thinking about, I was like, if I was a leader of any African country where we see war going, people with no money, no infrastructure, I would be so much ashamed to call myself a leader or to say, well, I'm the president of Kenya. So that one would make me even be ashamed in the first place. So we have a president coming on an African economic summit, but then he's got his country where people live on hand to mouth. People have no food. Hospitals, there's no bed, there's nothing, there's no medication, and people are on the streets fighting. And this is someone coming on an African economic summit. So then you see sort of like two double standards. And then you ask, how is that credible? Because then if you're on an African economic summit also, you want also to show that things are working in your country. That is the rule of law, because then that brings economic, because then you can only bring other people to invest in your country if the rule of law and the government is stable. But now as we speak, there's no stability, because there's no way you can go and, because if like someone wants to invest, the first thing they see is the economy of that country, the government, is it stable, is there stability? But as we speak now, there's no any investor would want to go and invest in Kenya because the country is not stable. There's no rule of law. People don't respect the constitution, and you don't want to move in a country with that kind of situation whereby you have people in the government saying shoot to kill. So that brings a lot of concern in the country. And I think you as a president, you have to be credible, and what you're doing, it has to show with it. So I think really it didn't make any sense. And also another question I did ask myself, it didn't make sense to see an economic summit being meant in Europe when it could have be done in any other African countries and put that money in Africa. So you can understand all the people who came with the Ruto, money spent in hotels and all that. And it's not few people he would have come with because he's the president. So he had a team with him. And that's still money spent. And we have countries where there's no money, corruption. And then you are spending money here and there, when we need that money for young people who have no any jobs, who have lost their opportunity. Because today, if you don't have a job, you finish uni, you don't have a job, all your chance is taken, all your opportunity. That means you can't have a family. Because without a job, you can't have a family, because then you have no money to sustain. So all your opportunities are taken away from there. So for me, to see him coming here to say an economic summit, it was just a laugh. And it didn't make any difference to me. Really.
All right. I see you agreeing a lot. I see you actually thinking deeper about what Janet is saying.
Absolutely.
What is bothering your mind right now?
Well, I mean, I find the reasoning and the justification for Ruto coming to the UK doesn't really hold water. It doesn't matter whether he came here or he didn't come. But fundamentally, since we're dealing with that issue, I'd obviously call it a strategic error. I think its implications show a lack of consideration for the people of the Republic of Kenya. And obviously, as Tony indicated, the fact that we were not informed shows a lack of consideration. So this echoes, the consistency of him not necessarily showing the people of Kenya regard, and us here, because we are a constituency of Kenyans. I think our numbers are more than 5.5 million people globally, if not more. So that's one. I think two, the optics are absolutely disastrous because, being that the 25th of June took place and then the trip coincided with that, it shows a lack of consideration. And thirdly, I think this is the key thing. The choice of choosing London and the British government inviting him, it really just harkens back to colonialism. And it reminds me of the British East African Company being set up in 1888. prior to which we had the Portuguese who came in the 17th century and the Arabs in the 16th century. And this thing just shows Africa's cleave and reliance and dependence and constant, betrothal to the West is something that is not ceasing. And I think it's almost as though we have a greater priority to pleasing the West and maintaining that relationship than actually looking at home and actually looking to consolidate what we can actually do to better the country. And I'd quote and remind you of Kwame Osagyefo Nkrumah, who in his book Neocolonialism clearly stated that neocolonialism is the imperialist last baton, the last hope for them to realize it. And what we're looking at in President Ruto, as much as we've tried to emphasize, he's just a character, he's just a personage. He is what I'd like to refer. I refer to myself quite quaintly as a neo-Pan-African.
Yes.
Because this is a new stage of Pan-Africanism, which has gone through the foundation of Pan-Africanism and now the refinement to now having new stooges coming in where we have to utilize new tactics. Ruto is literally a neo-dictator, an ex-dictator, for lack of a better word. And we have to have new strategies. And it's very, very important that we have the Gen Zs, the younger cohort among us, who are obviously rising. But it's disappointing that Ruto came. It's disappointing that Kenyans are being ill-treated. And it's disappointing that as soon as he came back home, we obviously had the pronouncements that instead of being killed, we ought to be shot in the legs. So it's a double whammy. Let's put it that way. It goes from bad to worse.
Bad to us. Shot in the leg it is. But I realize...
Very considerate.
Yes, very, very considerate. Actually, I mean, don't shoot my heart, shoot my leg, at least let me breathe, as I cater to the damage. But I realize majority of us here off camera are wearing this bracelet. I'm looking at you and you're very passionate about what you're doing matters Africa or matters the country. Do you feel, why do you wear yours? I actually think you have to. Yeah. Why do you wear yours? What does this signify?
I think I'd say my initial love for the Kenyan flag started way back when I was in primary, when you've been in social studies, you're told black is for, us as black people, white for peace, and red for the bloodshed, and green for, our beautiful landscapes. So that is something that, we've carried on from primary. That is something we were taught, something that we're supposed to carry. And for me, this is something that I carry to remind me of where we're from. This is something we're supposed, like the bloodshed. That is something that we were supposed to leave when we got independence. Yeah. That is, as you told me, 63 years ago. Yes, 63 years ago. But it's unfortunate that I'm now 26. I'm experiencing bloodshed that our freedom fighters were trying to, so hard. We have Dedan Kimathi, we have, all the freedom fighters who, bravely fought for us. But now we have 19-year-olds, 6-year-olds who are getting killed, shot. So for me, I carry this with pride. As a Kenyan, it's my flag.
Yes.
Globally, you're supposed to have the pride of your flag. But when I have many colleagues who ask me, oh, you have such a nice, tell me more about it. I'm so pained to explain nowadays. Because this was supposed to be history, but now it's what we are facing currently. We have bloodshed. White for peace, we don't see it anymore.
We don't even have it.
For me to just say that, I'm not even sure if, nezenda maandamano na nirudi home. That's so, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
We're in 2025. If of course, black, that's constant. But for the bloodshed that we are experiencing and the lack of peace, I find that very diabolical. And this is something, it didn't start with Ruto. We've seen bloodshed even with Uhuru and Kibaki and Moi. We've seen bloodshed. So as he said, it's not a narrative of Ruto. It's fighting that seed that is planted within our political sphere. And it's not just Kenya. We've seen it with, the West Africa and North Africa. We have a lot of bloodshed when it comes to people calling for good governance. I just don't understand why they make us die and beg for what we're entitled. If you're killing me for asking you to account for my taxes, make it make sense. Like, I honestly just don't understand why from asking for accountability, then I have to pay with my blood.
Yeah.
I can say up to this age where I am, I do not understand why people have to pay. I mean, we've seen parents, people who have quote unquote invested, for me to be here, my parents have paid money, school and all that. I mean, of course they didn't say that they're educating me so that I can help them, but the fact that people have put you through school, they have educated you, they have nurtured you, they want the best for you, and then your life is snatched without regard. Like the police who shot the mask vendor. Yani, Boni amenda kuhustle mask. And then I saw that video, oh my God. I just couldn't, I was shaking because I couldn't explain. I showed my colleague, I was like, see, this is like, was he a thief? Was he a terrorist? That is what people think. But I was, no, he's selling masks. People are demonstrating. So it's very hard for me to understand why politics in Kenya has been equated to death. Right now, of course, I told my mom that I'm coming. What are we discussing? Politics. Do you know what she asked me? Utarudi kwa airport ya nani? Do you know, it's a very simple statement, but think about it. The fact that when you speak about politics, you're not assured of your safety. You jokingly asked us, hey, nikirudi home, it's not exactly, that is not a discussion you're supposed to be having. That just because they say that you have freedom of speech, but you're not guaranteed freedom after speech.
That's very, very true.
It's so sad when we have coffins of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds covered with the Kenyan flag, lowered to the ground because of stray bullets. And what was happening? Ilikuwa maandamano. I mean, it baffles me. I cannot explain it, and I feel so bad when I see those parents crying, wailing, because no one deserves to die for calling for good governance and ending corruption. We work so hard. People wake up 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to get to work. Your taxes are being deducted. Why am I being killed for asking you why you're taking my money? So
I think majority of us are having an emotional mood.
I know. But if you allow me to say this, Lynn, listening to her conversation, she has used the word history several times, and I pick up that word. And this is a very, very important word when you listen to that conversation. And why do I say this? Is because if people can remember very, very clearly, one of the things Ruto said even before he became president is that he would get rid of history from the curriculum of the studies in Kenya, of the education.
It's a global movement.
Yes.
Even with critical theory in America.
Exactly. And you see, when you actually listen to Tekla, the conflict and the frustration that is coming from her conversation is the fact that there is this history which she values so much, and she's being faced with a leader who does not respect history. So his actions are actually contra to your views and what you hold dear. And obviously, all of us who are students of history in one way or another, we know that if you really don't know your history, where you've come from and where you are, you really will have not much business determining where you're going to go from here. You know, and it's important because when I think Kenyans, again, I go back and say, Kenyans should listen to their leaders when they speak. Because people just took that statement from Ruto that I don't value the word history. I don't value the subject of history in our curriculum of education. And people didn't take it seriously. And one of the things that Ruto was trying to drive with that narrative was that you don't connect with what you're connecting with, Tekla. And we also don't connect with his past history.
Okay.
Because if people had understood Ruto's history and actually sort of like targeted and focused on his history, it is very, very likely that he wouldn't have actually become president. He wouldn't have actually gotten the votes. And he drove into the senses of the people that forget about history. So when Baba stands and talks about history, and there's that chance that Baba can drive us back to Ruto's history, then history for Ruto is a no-go zone. And people don't take that. And people didn't take that seriously. And I can tell you, if you look in my handles, when I saw that statement, I cried, I shouted, I wrote about it. That statement needs to be scrutinized very, very carefully because it's a disaster. And look, this is where we are, Tekla. Sorry to interrupt the thought, but you know, it's important to drive these things, because when you listen to a conversation, then you can, because it's good to understand when I see the Gen Zs on the streets and reacting the way we are it's good to also understand why, and it's good to connect those dots.
No, we appreciate the input actually, because I was going to ask you your thoughts on her statement, but Oliver, she looks at the bracelet and sees pain right now. She sees bloodshed. What is meant to be history for her is actually what she's living through right now. I mean, Tony, if we go back, you are 20 years ahead of her. I'm actually like 10 years ahead of you. You would think our children will come into a better world. They will come into a peaceful environment. But that's not what we are giving you. For you, when she sees that, what do you see in this bracelet?
Well, first of all, I don't have a bracelet.
Yes, not in general.
But yeah, I think when I look at the flag, wow, that's such a heavy question. I think sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you sometimes don't sit down to process such questions. For me, I'm so focused on the goal and doing things to get to that goal. I'm not even looking at the things that are representing why I want to get to that goal. I think within me, it's so deep instilled in me that I'm Kenyan through and through. Like somebody threatens that I'm not Kenyan and I'm like, I think you're crazy. Yeah. I actually think you're crazy because that's impossible. And because I'm so deeply rooted as a Kenyan, I feel like it's my business so much to make sure that we clean up this mess. Because if anything, I'm trying to go back to where I came from. Everybody in the West is always, hey, foreigners, go back to where you came from. We don't want, hey, I'm on my way.
You are
on my way.
Yes.
The only reason I'm here is because you're busy interfering with where I'm from. So guess what? I'm not going to cry out to you and say, oh, leave us alone. And it comes back to like the point of it not being about Ruto. And when I was telling you, people are saying, how could you do this? How could you do this? How could you do that? I talked about knowing your enemy. Tony has just brought up that point very importantly. As I've grown older, I said I've learned to listen. When people are giving points, whether you like that point or not, is there something you can pick from it? Tony was able to be objective in that when he was busy saying, hey, I don't want history, and it's offending you, Tony was able to connect the dots that, hey, red flag.
He picked it up.
Red flag. Red flag. So when I look at the flag for me, it definitely comes back to what she said about it's a thing of pride. Yes. But it's so much a thing of pride that I don't even need to think about it being a thing of pride because it's a default setting for me. It is a default. I never need to think about it because it's here, it's done, it's a period thing. So now I'm just thinking about what next. And as Tony was speaking, I don't want to restate the conversation, but I just want to inject a bit.
Go on.
Just a bit. Huh?
Inject.
Just a bit.
Yes.
Huh? As Tony was speaking, you know, as people speak, you pick out things, and then your mind continues, and this is what I picked up as Tony was speaking. It came back to what next, and everybody has been asking, what can we do? And I think I mentioned before the cameras came on, the solution is very simple. If we all wake up today and follow the Constitution, that piece of paper, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
It's a done deal. We don't need a savior. We don't need a hero. We don't need US aid. We don't need UN aid. We don't need nothing. If everybody wakes up in that country who is Kenyan and has an ID, and those who are Kenyan by association, whether it is children or you're married or what, if you wake up and follow that piece of paper that is the Constitution, the country will very quickly fix itself. Very quickly. I want you to think about it. If everybody has a job, the Constitution is like, my dad usually says there's no Bible to parenting. But guess what? There's a Bible on how to run the country. And it is the Constitution. And it is there and it is simple. It's not so hard for you to do what is written on that piece of paper. It even gives you ways to do it. If we wake up.
Yes.
And now it brings us to the solution. We need to find a way to protect the Constitution. If the Constitution is protected and upheld, our issue is done.
Yes.
Think about it.
Good. Man, Janet, do you want to add something?
I just want to add what Oliver said. Really, we don't need much in Kenya. We have the Constitution, which is the Bible, which is the book to run our country. We just need those right people of integrity and accountability to put that book in place so we can restore the country to rule and order. That's all what we need. And then reset the country. And then from there we can move. We don't want the Western people. We don't want anyone. We don't need a savior, a messiah. We have the Constitution. That is our messiah. That is our savior. Kenyans, we just need to change our mindset. The leaders we vote and stop recycling leaders. We are fed up with the recycling.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, as she's talking, I'm looking at you being an author. You said you are authoring a book right now, which will be out in a couple of weeks. But the people who actually came, because we participated in whether we wanted to have the Constitution or not. There was a whole referendum and people actually said this is what we want.
Yes.
That Constitution is there validly because Kenyans decided this is what we want, right? And you would want to think, even as an author, if someone is reading your book, you know, at least they are getting what is inside the book. Do you think the politicians in Kenya have the respect for the Constitution at the moment? And do you think the Constitution has a role to play right now at the moment in Kenya? Is there any place for the Constitution?
Okay. I'll inject a little bit of comedy.
Yes.
And just remind us of Oscar Sudi when he was being sworn in.
You don't even need to finish.
I don't say that to mock anyone because I believe in all humanity being equal. But clearly, if you're not capable of reading and you're supposed to be a leader, there's something clearly amiss.
Yes.
So if they do not even take the consideration to develop themselves to that level, how much can we trust them to actually hold up the laws of the land? Secondly, I think it's important to reiterate the point. Readers are leaders. And there's something that Noam Chomsky stated, which is what is called a threat of a good example. And I think what is happening in Kenya is no coincidence. If you really think about it, from a spiritual, from a cosmological, and also understanding the epoch that we're in right now, in the age of Aquarius, this has really sort of seen a global awakening of Black people, of African people throughout our continent.
Oh, yes.
And it's not a surprise to us that there's a fight back against it. And there are people who are either rising themselves as the little demi-demons and those from the outside who are influencing them in order for them to stop Africa's, rise and to be a superpower.
Yes.
You talk of the likes of the Chinese. The Chinese look on and they're deeply in Africa. They're like, why are you guys not rising? They know the capability. They know the potential.
That's correct. They
You
know
know?
they know the value. Thank you.
And
The value.
and just to remind watu nyumbani, juu tunaongeanga Swahili hata kama tuko diaspora bado tunajua lugha ya taifa. Waswahili husema ukiona vinaelea vimeundwa. So there's nothing that happens that is a coincidence. There's a strategic plan behind every single thing. And as Tony rightfully said, and I'll go back to this because I think it anchored our conversation, Ruto is not really the fundament of what we should be looking at. Okay, we've truly said he must go. We agree. Ni one term. Me, I came up with another one that you guys remember. It's no term. Yeah. But whether it is one term or no term, or whether it is in fact two term, yeah, Kenya continues.
Correct.
And you know, I'd like to emphasize, and I think it's very important to talk about the solutions that you mentioned, Oliver. And these solutions that you mentioned, and obviously talking about our people bleeding and the fact that we have a constitution, is that I'd like to encourage the Gen Zs and those of my age, the millennials, the boomers, the Xers, it doesn't matter what generation you're in, is to acquaint yourself with the constitution, one, and to read voraciously. You know, the people who back in the day who are Gen Zs then, like the Algerian author, Frantz Fanon, who wrote The Wretched of the Earth, you know, Black Face, White Mass, and all those kind of things. Our people are not familiar with these kind of books. So revolution and upheaval in societies and looking for democratic systems and oppressive systems to actually be taken away, it's a current ongoing in human societies.
Yes.
So this is nothing that we can look at and say, oh my, how come this is happening now? It always happens. So the more people inform themselves, the more people gather together in a like mind and not become fodder and sheep, as some religions tell us to be, the more we'll have people who are critically thinking, and the more we'll select better leaders, and the more we'll have a steady path towards our direction as a country.
Oh, love that, you know, the solutions. I love that we're establishing, number one, we'll need to actually respect our constitution because it has everything we need. I loved what you said, even the how. Even the how is right there. But one of the other things we did speak about, which you've briefly mentioned, is the religious aspect of things. I mean, when we were watching that clip from the lady in the US challenging Gachagua on number one tribe, we cannot also negate the fact that, you know, Kenyans, we are heavy on religion, which is a good thing because we respect people's, you know, different religious views. But do you think it's a good thing when it merges with our politics?
I think I was the one who was heavily expressing when it came to religion, and this is something that I said it with my chest. It really annoys me. We need to separate religion and politics. And just to be short, I just gave an example that we can't be having, what's it called? Let's say Madaraka Day, and we have it at Nyayo Stadium. This is a national day. What does Madaraka Day celebrate? It celebrates our independence, right? We are celebrating national independence, full stop. Nothing else. National independence means everybody in the country, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're what, you are part of that national agenda. We have no business opening a national agenda with a Christian prayer, whether you think God is great or not, because you need to empathize with the fact that you are a nation of different people who may or may not be religious. For that reason, when it comes to national issues, we need to be collective and neutral. That's what I think when it comes to religion and politics. It needs to separate. And also because now religion is being used as a weapon. And another thing, just as I finish, is that I always wonder. My dad usually says something. He usually says something. And it's not even him, you know, going against Christianity. But he usually just says, I mention my dad a lot. Anyway, he said something. Christianity came on a boat. It came on a boat. Did it not? Yes, it did. It came on a boat. And then when I put two and two together, I remember I learned my history in Kenya. I was very fortunate to be born here, but I schooled in Kenya for the end of my primary and my high school. And I was very fortunate to go through the end of primary education, history, and history in high school. And I took history as one of the subjects. And one of the things I clearly remember is, who came first? Explorers. Yeah? And then who came after? Was it explorers and then evangelists?
Yes.
Yeah.
With missionaries.
And then missionaries, isn't it? And then colonialism. If Christianity is so much about being your brother's keeper and treating people well and all this greatness, and this is not me questioning Christianity, but it's me questioning the narrative that we're putting religion into politics. Huh? If Christianity is so great and about being your brother's keeper, why is there a gap between missionaries and colonialism? Where were the missionaries when the same colonialists who were coming from the missionaries' countries where they came from were foraging through Africa and doing what they were doing? Where were those missionaries? Is rape not a sin?
It is.
It is a sin according to the Bible.
Yes.
So if colonialists were coming and raping African women, where were the missionaries when this was happening? There's a gap, and somebody needs to help me understand what happened. Did missionaries suddenly just forget and disappear?
Yes.
And this is my issue with religion and politics, and especially Kenyans and Christianity and politics.
Yes.
Let me call a spade a spade.
Go on.
Christianity and Kenyan politics can no longer go. It needs to end. Because there's too many gaps. There's too many gaps. And do you know why there's too many gaps? Because politics and religion does not go together. That is the reason why there's too many gaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone is looking at him, watching him on TV right now, and he's like, kijana ajui anasema nini? Kijana anajua kwenye maombi imetu.
Pepo shindo. Ametumwa.
Huyo amelipwa. Huyo ako na agenda, you know.
Wacha nijaribu kujibu huyo mtu anajaribu kuuliza huyu kijana what is wrong, you know. You know, he's got a very interesting point, and you are spot on, to be very, very honest. But I would even want to expand it a little bit further. You know, Lynn, it's only in Kenya now that we are amazing and putting so many resources in building churches and cathedrals.
Hey.
In this country, I mean, as I drove from where I live to here, it is countless churches, cathedrals that have closed down. Yes. In fact, I was telling my friend here, it's very, very interesting because some of the things that people don't remember very well about Christianity and how it used to be treated here is that it was almost like a carrot and stick game. You go to church because if you become a member of the church, then you have actually allocated, or by virtue of being a member, you have graduated to find a space to be buried in the church compound. Right? Now, today, because all those church compounds are full, no church compound has got a place where somebody can be buried, you don't find people coming to church today. Because one of that carrot was, if you go to church, you'll find a place to be buried. Right? Wow. And even to add on to that, because this is a conversation that we were having earlier, and it's very, very interesting because
I never knew this actually.
You know, because
I didn't know, yeah.
But it made perfect sense.
Yeah,
because you find in this country, if you go to a proper cemetery, like Langata, like our Langata cemetery, it is nice, clean. You know, actually a place like we're talking with Irongo here, that you can even take a walk through. You know? And also, the fact that even people respect what is happening there, which, when you juxtapose it with the kind of situation we have in Kenya, where we have no respect of life, we don't respect people when they are alive, and we no longer even respect them when they are dead. Yes. You know, I remember the other day I was driving down from Naivasha, and I was driving, and there was a dead body by the roadside. It was raining, and there was nobody who was seemingly bothered about that body, and it was a body of a human being. You know, so when you look at what is happening in Kenya, you see a situation where you're talking about Ruto doing a 1.2 billion church. Even outside State House, you'll find our good Christians building churches of the same value. So it's not like Ruto has woken up and talked about a church of 1.2 billion. There are churches in Kenya that have been built using the same amount of money. But you drive up here and go to Scotland, you find a cathedral that has been converted into a club. A proper club. Mahali pa kukunywa pombe, a cathedral. You know, so when you actually look at the disconnect of what we are trying to do in Kenya, and we are trying to say that we are becoming so mzungu that we are copying what is happening in the West, why is it that we are only copying the bad manners, but we are not copying the good things? You know, like now, for example, the issue of integrity.
Yeah.
I think for the period that we've been here, we know that there was quite a high level of integrity, even when you're doing business. You didn't expect to go into a place where you be asked for kitu kidogo in this country. It still hasn't reached the surface, but you can feel the undertones for people like us who are in business. But, you know, we have not encouraged and we are not driving the word integrity into the Kenyan psyche. And yet, we are trying to copy the West. Why? If we are copying the Christianity, and if we are copying our colonialists, why are we not copying some of those things that drive a nation so that it remains together and actually fights for everybody? You know, so I can understand what you're talking about, because what we are having here is now a religion or Christianity being used now to probably support the state when the religion has no business supporting the state. In any case, if this country's politic or the state was being supported by religion, it would have collapsed something like about 50 years ago.
It actually used to be, you know, politics and religion, Christianity in particular, they used to be part of government.
Yeah.
In this country,
Exactly.
in this very country. And now 50 years later, like you've said, it is no longer anymore. Why couldn't we copy that?
That's exactly
Why couldn't we copy that?
That's what I'm saying.
Why couldn't we copy that?
Yes, Irungu.
Yeah, so I mean, I really, I'm gonna switch the conversation and almost be hypocritical to myself.
Yes.
But let me look at the alternate view.
Of course.
I really love religion.
Yes.
I love religion for the fact that I can categorically guarantee that every single one of us in this room came from some sort of religious background.
Yes.
And we all went through different stages of development and different iterations where maybe you even became an unbeliever. I don't know what an unbeliever is.
Yeah.
You know, if you're born, you obviously came from some entity. But being that the case, it's very, very important to understand the role that religion does to shape humanity and to shape the discourse of every single thing that we do in our lives, to guard our morality, to guard our ethics. So I think religion in and of itself, even though I am not religious, I'm spiritual, I think it has a value. And this is the whole point of a dictatorial state, an authoritarian regime. Yes. They see the value. They simply understand it as the tool. So where I want us to really get the whole thing together is not religion. Religion can stay there as this cup is sat on the table. Religion has no offense on anyone.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at it properly, if our president, William Samoei Kipchirchir Samoei Ruto, was truly religious, what is happening in Kenya would not be taking place. There would not be any need for us to talk about a church in State House. In fact, if he was doing such a marvelous job, Kenyans would applaud his decision to have a church in State House. Yeah. So that's not the issue. And you know, I don't like to compare Muslims and Christians because both think that one of them is going to Jahannam, another one think the others are going to hell.
Yeah.
You know, this is a whole joke that is played upon humanity. And I forget who said this. Maybe Tony or one of you could remind me.
Yes.
They said, religion is the opiate of the masses. And so the religious thing that Ruto has thrown into the table is actually even more of a bigger distraction. Why is he centering us to focus on a church project, which I can guarantee you will probably never be realized? This is another distraction that is really taking us off center. We've not thought of that. I mean, I will tell you one thing.
I actually thought about it. I did think about it. You know,
we might be unequivocal in agreeing that Ruto is not a great leader, but Ruto is a very, very shrewd politician, and an extremely corrupt one. You know that too. Yeah. So these are the kind of questions that we should ask ourselves when we're being pointed in directions to move us away from what we should actually put our eyes to.
But I think, Irungu, just if you could just give me 1 minute, Lynn.
Tony, feel free.
I do agree clearly, and I think the viewers will not think that me and Mr. Mboya here has got issue with Christianity as a faith or as a religion.
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, but I think just to emphasize on what Irungu has said, it is it is just to try and expose the leadership that we have in the country at the moment, to see, for the masses to see how that leadership is using religion to distract us, to destroy us. You know, even when you look at it, I was brought up by a grandfather who came from the era of the traditional spirituality side of things, without the Christianity bit. And then he adopted to the Christian faith. And I remember my grandfather telling me, look, from this place, from the village where I was born, to something less than 5 kilometers away, if we prayed and did our sacrifice here before, because of the rains had been late, before we got home, I'm talking about a distance of about 5 kilometers, the rains would come.
Yes.
It works.
I always challenge people today. I've recently lost a friend, and I remember going down on my knees and praying and just thinking, this lady shouldn't die, and all that kind of thing. And the only thing that I know about the reason why my prayers couldn't go where it was supposed to go is because all this mix up with the Christianity and the way it has been contaminated, it has defeated the purposes that our forefathers used to exercise in terms of not being hypocrites, not being, idiots, bigots in that sort of religion, so that you don't even think about cleaning your systems up before you go and offer prayers or sacrifices for something to change.
It's like the Pharisee.
It's just like the Pharisees. And I would want to encourage, and this is where I actually challenge the Christian faith, that there's nothing wrong with the Christian faith per se. It's just about how we are practicing it, the integrity in it, which we have lost, and yet we want to stand on top of the mountains and say we are Christians, and yet our Christian faith is changing nothing. When my great-grandfather's faith could change things in front of their eyes.
Yes.
Not tomorrow, not the other day. Today. Sahi. So I think it's important that I protect you, because I don't want anybody to think, or me or anybody, that we have.
But he's very well protected.
Absolutely.
Our audience are very, very mature.
Beautiful, good
and
stuff.
They respect
but I
people's
think
opinions,
it's important for them to get that point.
You are protected.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for me, I want to switch gear a little bit, Lynn, if you allow me.
Go on.
I don't want us to finish this conversation without sometimes also accepting that there are a few things that are happening in Kenya that are good. Because I think it's important so that we don't just appear like we just, Yes. I was recently watching something about what is happening in Boni Forest, in Lamu, and the fight against the terrorists and the Al-Shabaab and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was very, very interesting to see that they're calling it, I think, special organized group of forces or something like that. That is fighting the terrorists there, and it's actually working, And I saw interviews of people, and because I've got some interests down there, I know that there's something that is going on there, which tells me what I always tell people. In Kenya, we have probably one of the most trained forces. Like when you talk about the special branch, which is called the NSIS, the DCI, because it is actually a mix of, they have married and put together the training that they get from the Americans, the Israelis,
all over the world,
the British. They have done a cocktail.
Very well trained.
And now when they actually add it up to the environment that we live in Kenya, where we go speaking and mouthing all over the place, it makes it very, very easy to gather intelligence and get the right information that they need to guide the country to the place that it needs to go. The only challenge is, like I said from the beginning, the fish rots from the head.
Thank you.
When you don't have somebody who is using that system, the training, the skills, and the expertise that is within those forces, then you end up with a situation where me and Boya could be declared terrorists. When we know that the SOG has identified the real terrorists in Lamu and they're dealing with them. You get my point? So I think it's very, very important that we understand that. And then the other point that I would have wanted to raise, because I don't want this to escape my mind, is that there's something that you raised about Bonnie, the one who was shot selling masks. And it was very, very interesting to note yesterday, because I want to also pass my congratulations to two people who did two beautiful things yesterday.
Yes.
One was a judge called Nyakundi in the Eldoret court. He sentenced some two police officers who shot another man, incidentally, who was caught not wearing a mask, called Lusava. That judge sentenced those two police officers to 35 years in prison. So I'm trying to add this onto the basket of there's still a few things that are happening that are good in Kenya that we need to note. The other thing that I also want to congratulate a lady called, I think she's called Mugo. She's a principal magistrate at the Milimani Law Courts. And yesterday, she stopped the ODPP office from withdrawing a case worth 7.9 million of some exchange of collaterals. You know, some bank had put collateral, I think it was Prime Bank, and somebody was trying to sell. You know, when you've been put in receivership, that property is not supposed to be touched, and somebody tried to do that. But the point that I'm trying to make is, look at it this way. This is a principal magistrate. This is a case worth 709 million. Can you imagine the efforts that may have been made to stop that lady from kicking the order of the ODPP, to stop that case based on that money?
Yes.
You understand? So the reason why I want to thank and congratulate that lady, is, I think she's called Mugo, is because I can understand the amount of pressure that would have been normally or naturally put in a case like that, when you involve enormous amounts of money. And yet she told Mr. DPP, you cannot withdraw this case from this court. We have witnesses. You are wasting the court's time. So we are going to proceed with this case and conclude it, because something has been done here and we are not doing the right thing. You understand?
Yes.
So I think for me, looking at those two things, I think it's very, very important. And lastly, before I finish, that case in Eldoret sends also another message, that whatever Murkomen told the police officer, because I can speak to the police officers and tell them, do not listen to what Murkomen said, that he can defend you or he can protect you. So please, policemen, understand that when you do the wrong thing, you will end up in court, you will end up in custody, you will end up in prison alone.
And I love what you just said, you know, honorable mentions. There are so many good things that are happening in our country. And I think for me, last year, I was so impressed by the Gen Zs trying to scrutinize the bill, trying to create awareness, trying to educate people. But then what you're witnessing on the other side, because then we should not congratulate a judge for saying the case has to proceed. That should actually be a natural occurrence. That is something that should be done.
I'm not going to praise you
for doing what
job.
you're supposed to be doing, right?
Following the Constitution,
yes.
I don't need to praise you and tell you well done for following the Constitution.
But then I'm sensing, and I agree what Tony is saying, the reason we are congratulating her is because we've normalized the silence. Exactly. And that is what the Gen Zs came, you know, they actually came and they were on fire and they were scrutinizing everything. And also I'm listening to you talking about the judge and I'm like, what will happen to her? Is she okay? Will she actually be safe for doing that? You know,
did they threaten her children?
Yeah, will they threaten the children? Will they do something to her? And I feel like this is now the fear that the government has, that there are people who are speaking and doing the right thing. But then now, how do we protect ourselves from even having such conversations and knowing we are safe at it, right? How do we protect the young people from scrutinizing the bills and knowing they will still be okay tomorrow? How do we do that as a nation? Because we can't be here clapping for doing the right thing. That is what we are supposed to do to move forward, right? But now we clapping because it's rare.
It's a rare thing.
It's a rare thing. You know, how do we move forward? How do we move forward in rareness? Ni kama kuna kitu kama hiyo.
Yeah, ni kweli. I mean, venye mimi naona. You know, wale watu wanakanga saa zote wakisema Gen Z wanafanya hivi, Gen Z wanafanya hivi. Wako wapi? You know, we have, I can say, an older cohort here with myself, you know, Janet and Tony, who obviously show that us who are slightly older than Gen Zs or a lot older, we're participating. We're politically active. We're interested. And I think the bigger question to me, and I think what is most pertinent at this point in time, is really to ask the members of parliament, the senators, the MCAs, the governors, all those people who've been elected by the people, why are they not serving them? You know, we can look at one personage and one principal, who is obviously the head of state, and say he's at fault. Why are all these other people complicit? What are they fearing? If you can actually see young people who are actually willing to give their lives, why are you not willing to just simply do your job? You know, that is a question. It's not only a question of ethics. It's a question of morals. It's a question of standing. You know, I mentioned this to Tony earlier on before we came on air. And I simply said to him, something very, you know, just came to me quite casually, perhaps intuitively. We have a very short snap of life where we're actually truly active, when we actually know what we're supposed to do. When you're either somewhat educated or fully educated, but most importantly, informed. And you understand right from wrong, and you understand good and bad. What are you going to be known for? And I think one critical thing that we've not asked ourselves, if you're honored by the privilege of being made the president of a republic, why would you actually waste that opportunity? Because I turned around last year when it was 2024 and I said to myself, if this guy actually saw how Kenyans are actually genuinely impassioned and upset and change course, his whole legacy will be completely different. But fast forward another year, things are even worse. And it led me to say that the legacy, or rather the end of this guy's term, in years to come, we're going to see even things develop and degenerate to become far worse than they are. And I think it's down to the public, it's down to elected officials to now really start soul searching and actually start changing things. Because if people don't look at themselves in their own room, in their own privacy, and say to themselves, what role do I have to play in Kenya? Kenya will not change.
Good. Tekra, how does it feel? You know, we are older, of course, you know, but we are participating and we are having this we are just a bit older than myself, but we are participating and having these conversations. How does it feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel supported? Is this light to you that people are actually willing to support what you guys stand for?
I mean, first off, with the older generation, I feel like we were sold to the highest bidder. Honestly, I mean, I can say I have participated in one or two general elections, but I feel like these are characters that started way before. So I feel like the older generation sold us to the highest bidder. And by the highest bidder, I mean, you know, whoever was dishing out some ungaya chapo, ama cabbage, you know, not thinking critically of what they're setting us up for. Yeah. For now, yes, we do feel some form of support because, as Tony said, it's now not a matter of the 50 or the 60 or the 40s. It's now the 20-year-olds. By the time it's 2032, will now be deep in politics. I mean, we are starting, of course, being deep in politics, but whatever is being set up now will affect us in 20 years. So we are suffering ripple effects from decisions that you guys made.
I agree.
Unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know.
Okay, I agree.
We are suffering from that.
Guilty as charged.
So we have been set up to be freedom fighters, for lack of a better word, at this day and age. Yeah, as you said, history. We're back there. So it's good that we are developing as politically sound people at this point, but it's unfortunate that it's not a conducive environment. I would love to engage in politics in a much mature, safe, you know, space. But now the space that we are in politically is very volatile. I might be here right now. I'm from Embakasi East. I might be here right now, talking, but I'm not sure if when you go home, kama Subaru itakufuata nyuma or something. So the support is there, but it's support of guilt. You know, you guys are just there because hapo tulikosea kidogo, you know. And it's so unfortunate that, as you said, we have people right now who would still vote in the same people who are messing the country. I don't know what wavelength, but there are people right now, tukifanyiwa general elections, they'll vote for Ruto and his cronies, unfortunately. It's a political rot that it's not just with the politicians, but it's also with us. It's a problem in us. It's the fact that we cannot analyze, as you said, I don't know if it's disempowered. We cannot just take the constitution, go through it, understand our rights and privileges to actually demand. We are just carried. Tunabebwa. If my MP today akakuja aseme nitajengea barabara, that's not a favor. I mean, Sujang, I mean, gosh, you know, like it's not a favor. So as you said, Kibuye, is once we are empowered, once we know what we deserve, we won't be so fascinated by simple things.
By expressway, by Thika Road,
I mean,
by Uhuru Highway, by...
Do you know, Tekla, to back you up?
like,
Lynn is cracking up. But you know, the thing is, some of us, of course, have political aspirations.
Yes.
And it's very easy for you to talk like the regular politician because it's quite easy. If you have the gift of the gab, these are oratory skills, and you know, some of them, they actually do it for their own personal entertainment. I mean, let me just crack a joke here. Do you see sometimes the way Ruto sometimes makes a joke? And he says something, and he notices everyone is laughing. He's even pleased at his own joke. he gets amused, and he stops and actually laughs. But
unfortunately, I don't find him funny.
He gets amused. He gets
You see the secondary laugh. I really know what you mean.
But I say that to say this. To say that the joke is always on us. And
that's the secondary laugh.
It goes to a deeper subconscious reality that we overlook. Is that we have a low expectation of ourselves. In other words, there's someone who said to me that diasporans, and he's talking so much here of kind of African Americans, Caribbeans, and all that. They have got a high level of confidence because they face the enemy, they've overcome them, they've gained a huge amount of skills, and they know basically how to operate in hell, literally. We, on the other hand, have a lower sense of confidence, but they have a lower self-esteem because of how much they've been crushed. Our ego is not as high as theirs. We don't have a high confidence as they do, but we have a high level of self-esteem, and none more so than Kenya. Every single person in Kenya literally feels that they're it. Yes. You know, and this is the whole point, that we spoil our politicians because we give them the avenue, we give them the platform to actually believe that they're somebody. Because they simply have a platform. That means nothing. Just because I'm wearing this, it doesn't make me different to when I'm wearing a t-shirt. Just because I can make a speech does not make me any different to a mama there who's looking after the child and she's actually building the future. I'm giving you promises. So these kind of promises and this kind of love of us hearing hot air is something that we have to stop. When we stop entertaining them, literally the whole game will reverse.
I just want to...
Oh, sorry, I'm coming to you, Oliver. Oh, go on.
I just want to add to what he said. We know the first article of the Constitution said the power belongs to the people, and only people have the supreme power to exercise that power. So that means these politicians, we are their employee. We are their employer, so we employ them, right? And we are the same people to take that from them. So what amazed me is when the president, the cabinet, his MP, they come and the way they speak to Kenyans without respect and any dignity. You don't speak that to your boss. We are their boss, but they don't realize that. So when the Gen Z, they went out there, they didn't went there because they just want to go mandamano to have fun. It's just because they didn't like the bill, right? And instead of him coming and saying to the Gen Z, guys, what can we do? Let's have a chat. Let's talk. Let's see how we can move the country forward. It just came there beating it chest. I'm the president. I can do what I want. So even though in dismantles the cabinet, that was a PR just to show. Because what did he do? He put back again the same corrupt people, which is not going to change. And that's what we were asking for, accountability. But there was no any accountability. Because if you are putting in the same corrupt people, what changed? It's just recycling again. So in there, he failed, right? And then he failed not coming forward and speak to the Kenyans with respect and dignity, which is what they're doing now.
He called us criminals.
Yeah, exactly. He called us criminal. And then we've got people like Murkomen coming say you can shoot and kill.
Yeah.
Who does that? Even animals are not shoot to kill.
Yes.
We are human beings, right? So then when you have these people, the people you voted, you put them there, and they don't respect you. They don't understand you are their employer.
Yeah.
So where do you think you are moving as a country? You understand? So these are things we have to understand. And we Kenyans, we have to understand. If we vote an MP or a senator and they have been in power for like 5 years and nothing has been done, why are we recycling them again in the next 5 years? If they haven't done anything in the last 5 years, means they won't do again. And then we have this mindset, the more money you have, the more you should be voted in as a leader. Na hiyo pesa uko nayo ni ile ya Wakenya umeiba. So we need to understand, hii pesa unaona ati mtu ako nayo, you've been MP for 5 years and you become a millionaire. Where have you taken those money from? It's just the same money you have been given for the infrastructure. But instead of doing, you pocket them. Then you become wealthy. And then Kenyans are voting you again just because you have money. So what I need to tell Kenyans, wewe ukipewa kitu kidogo, chukua weka kwa mfuko. Lakini ukienda kwa ballot, you vote the right candidate. It can be an independent candidate. It can be anyone. It can be Kibui, someone with nothing. But maybe he can bring those rules that can make the country go better. So don't look how much money someone has. Don't look how much someone rich is, but look about the integrity and the accountability. And if that person, you know, he can put laws that are good for the country, because that's all what we need. We need to reset the country, because unless we reset the country from civil servant, because the country is rotten. We can keep electing the presidents we want. We can keep electing them, but we will move anywhere because the country is rotten. We need to wipe the country. Then from there, that's the only way we can have a clear, and then put structure in place, laws in place, and then have a country that goes with the law and order. And also something else I want to say in regards to the Gen Z. So when they went to the demos, people were, so we had the Gen Z who were banning things and stuff, right? And then I think these are things put so then people can distract what is happening. Because the Gen Z, they wanted there because they wanted something. They are fighting for their future. They want jobs. They want opportunities which are not there. And then you have those few people who are banning, breaking, paid goods. And then that's all what they see. They say, oh, I'm a Gen Z, wanafanya these things. So we need not to be distracted by those few doing those things, because we know they have been hired by the government. It's not a lie. And we are not stupid, because they always think Kenyans, we are so stupid. We don't understand what's happening. We need to open our minds and understand what's happening. And we need to come with the Gen Z together, because it's not about tribal anymore. It's about Kenyan, all of us. Because kama hakuna ndawa kwa Mkikuyu, hakuna ndawa kwa Mjaluo, hakuna ndawa kwa Mkamba, hakuna ndawa kwa Mluya. It's so about us as a Kenya, as a collective. So when we are voting for our leaders, we need just accountability, integrity. Usiangalia ati huyo ni Mjaluo simvoti, huyo ni Mkikuyu simvoti. I don't care where you come from. Hata kama unatoka kwa shimo, I just want someone who can run the country, and then we can have a country that works for everybody.
Job.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, and I'm really so upset. I get so emotional when I talk about Kenya, because I just love my country. And even though I moved in Europe, not in UK, in Italy when I was 15, so I didn't have my first job in Kenya. So I've always been in a privileged position. But every time I went home, I felt that's where I belong, because my soul is there. I feel that's home. And every time I would walk in the airport, I would already get so much upset, because the first thing, to check my bag, somebody will want kitu kidogo. And I wasn't used that kind of atmosphere, because I didn't grow up there getting a job and everything. So it was like, what's this? And I started fighting. And I remember my mom would tell me, when nyamaza mdomo, mwingi tutapigwa hapa. Because I thought that was injustice. And then I will see the Mzungu walking and their bags wouldn't be
They're
open.
not checked.
And then they will tell me, can you open your bag? And I will tell them, no, until that man comes back, he opens his bag, then I will open. And then I remember at the time during Kibaki's, when he came with the anti-corruption, I didn't know about anything about it. I remember me just telling the guy, if you tell me to open my bag and you don't tell that Mzungu Kwanza Road so he can open their bag, I'm going to call the anti-corruption office. Those days things were really good, the Kibaki time. I think people were worried of corruption. And I remember that guys let me pass. And then since then, I started just fighting about Kenya injustices, things that I really didn't like, because I would go back to Italy and everything was working. And I was like, why can't we have things like that? And I remember my mom would tell me, oh, this is Kenya, things work like that. But why we normalize things? So unless we start not normalizing things, making our leaders understand if they are there is because they are just doing their job. Because politics, it should be like somewhere where you go to make money. Politics is about to serve the people. It's not business. And in Kenya, why is everyone wants to go to politics? Because of stealing, corruption. Because they think you go to politics, you get money. Here, politics is property because it's serving the people. Councillors here, they don't get money. They are taxi drivers. They have their job. When they go for a sitting that day, they just get paid that day. But in Kenya, councillors who are the MC, they have a full salary. That doesn't happen in the Western. And we have the most paid MPs in the world. A third world country where people live on hand to mouth. That you have the most paid MP. One thing we need to start is to start reducing their salaries first, so people can start going to politics to serve the people, but not for the money they can make. We need to change politics out there and done in Africa, not only in Kenya. That's the only way we can change, because we can't be the most richest continent in the world, yet we are the poor. No.
But I think just to add on quickly on that, we keep on talking about this constitutional thing and talking about constitution and a good constitution and things like that. And I keep asking myself, right now as we speak, if there are two ways of getting Ruto out of government. It's either through a referendum, or either him resigning or something like that, or the MPs impeaching him. Now, this constitution that we're talking about, I keep on asking myself, why is it that even in that, the first article about the people and we having the power, why is it that we haven't found a way of putting a clause there where we can actually be able to clearly get rid of a rogue president with the people? Because, one minute, because my frustration right now where I sit is to imagine that about 300 men and women who represents something like 0.006% of the population of Kenya can send Ruto home. But 50 million people cannot send Ruto home.
Okay, I've got an answer for that because I brought it up. So the fact we are more than 50 million, right? And we say the power belongs to the people. We put Ruto there through the ballot. And through the ballot, we can vote him out, right? Okay. In Kenya, you have the wealth, which I think is 1%. And then you've got the middle class. And then you've got the poor. Now the people in the street fighting, who are saying Ruto must go, they are the poor. The middle class is just comfortable. There are these people living in Rwanda, Keleleshwa, places like that. They have cars, they have businesses, so they are comfortable in their house. They don't lack anything. But just the few poor ones are the one in the street fighting. The moment the middle class in Kenya will understand that it's time, things are getting tough, that's the only thing, then we can manage to get Ruto out. But until then it will be a little bit difficult, because then the middle class is still comfortable sitting, eating. And the middle class is also with the diaspora. We are part of that middle class because we are very comfortable. You have a house, you've got a job, you can send money back home in your family. So you are okay, because me, Kiboni, PESA, and Isatuma, my people are comfortable back home because you can support them. But there are people who don't have that. And because the middle class is silent, unless the middle class feel that itch, that pitch, we need to go out and support those Gen Z or those young people there with no jobs, or those poor people who have nothing to lose, then I think something can happen. Then you get the 50 million. You get the 50 or the 6 million, because that's what we need. We need all Kenyans out. Because I don't think we can wait until to 2027. 2027 is so far for how the country is going. And I think we don't want our country to be another Zimbabwe where the economy falls and our Kenya shillings is not valued for anything. So we need to change things. If Ruto is not going, then if the parliament, they are captured because of corruption and everything, we need to find something to go. Yeah, we are the people. And I also get stand when I meet people in the diaspora who are still not calling the injustices and the impunities back home, because they are still supporting those rank regime. And because they have an interest maybe in politics or something they have been promised. It's really upsetting. And yet you are living in a country where you can see what accountability brings, where integrity brings, and what you are enjoying. So why would you not want to enjoy those things back in
That's a really important
Now,
point.
go on. Yes,
That's
Oliver,
a really
before
important
Irongo,
point.
I know Irongo wants to add on something. But there's something you mentioned I don't want to forget. You are not impressed. Expressway doesn't impress you. All these buildings and structures and whatever developments are happening, you are not impressed, because according to you, that is the job we put you there to do, right? Do you want to expound on that?
I think it comes back to Rungu's point of giving these guys the platform, and then once they're on the platform, making them a god.
Venerating them.
When you think about what Tony has just said, you see, actually, let me rephrase my point. We validate the what's the word I'm looking for? Not their godship, their divinity. Thank you. We validate their divinity. Their so-called self-proclaimed divinity is validated by the people at the bottom. It brings it back to the point that apparently 0.3% of the country can end this issue today, right? It brings it back to that. It brings it back to the issue is not Ruto. The issue is actually the people who are enabling Ruto. Because guess what? Ruto is one guy, he can't achieve all of the things that he's been able to achieve.
Sure.
He must have the Kenya Defense Forces or the police or whatever arm he's using of government. Those people must know how to shoot guns. Those people must wake up in the morning and go and chase Kenyans all over the country. Sudi must wake up on the TV and talk trash. Murkomen must wake up on the TV and talk trash.
And Farouk
has
must
to
turn women around so they can dance. Yes.
Yeah, you understand. Or everybody has a job to do to enable this guy to do what he's doing. So guess what? He actually isn't that powerful if you think about it.
Not at all.
He isn't that powerful. And God forbid the day I stand up and clap for a politician for building a road.
We are clapping for you actually for that
Or
statement. Not the
building a
politician.
road.
Yes.
My own mother used to say, oh, these guys have built a road. Roads were built in a macadamized road. Barabara ya lam, macadamized. They were made many years ago. I'm not the best historian, but I'm sure somebody can give a date on when macadamized road was designed and built. It has been here. Now in 2020, when did we get expressway? 2022, 23.
Yes.
Jana too.
Yes.
And it suddenly has tolls and people are running, people from Kileleshwa are running their Range Rovers there, thinking that they're on top of the world and it's the best road in the world. Oh my God, we have an expressway. Nakimbiza Range Rover yangu hapa, I'm really doing well. Yeah. My guy, you're so far away, you don't even understand. It's actually embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. Something that it comes back to me when it comes to leaders is, I don't need to like you. I really don't need to like you. I just need to know you can do the job. That's it. That's it. I don't need to like... morally and a few things, maybe they need to line up. But generally as a person, I don't need to like you if you can do the job. I'm not interested, Batman. I'm not interested.
Do the job.
Just do the job.
Yes.
Go home. And if you feel like you want applause to do your job, then the job is not for you. The job is not for you, and it's not a must that you have it. It's not a must. And I don't want to steer the conversation too away, but I was picking up some of Tekla's points, and I wanted to talk about the way she talked about the older generation and how she felt the older generation had sold us out. Huh? She felt like the older generation had sold us out. And guess what? Her feelings are valid. Because it's very easy for you to feel that way, because that is actually what might have happened. But remember, this happened in ignorance. You know, I want us to give grace. Huh? Grace is a very important thing that we must give the older generation. And let me tell you why. Because we need the older generation to get the job done. And let me tell you why we need them. Not because we don't know what we're doing. It's because it goes back to what I was saying. Everybody has a job in this movement. Everybody has a job in what we're trying to achieve. Gen Z's job was to ignite the fire and run with the banner. The older generation's job, there are some things that Tony is seeing here that I could never be able to analyze at my age of 25. Wherever I've been, whether I've lived in England, whether I've gone to school, there's something that comes with time and age and experience. That whether even that old Guka who never went to university, there's things that he's picked up on in his life that you could never be able to pick up on at 25. But what the older generation also needs to realize is it is not that we need them because we don't know what we're doing. We need them because everybody has a job and they have their role to play, and they must play it without any malice, without any pride, they're not doing anybody any favors. Because guess what? If you don't do your job as that older generation, you will burn together with us in what we are trying to achieve.
That's a very important thing.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
What we have to remember is these guys didn't have access to information the way we have access to information now. If I want to find out what's going on in Kenya, I pick up this phone and I jump on Twitter. Within less than a minute, I know what's happening on the other side of the world. The other day, I talked to my friend who was in Australia, and he told me, I'm waking up. I told him I'm going to bed. And I instantly thought, wow, there's always another reality outside of the one that you're living in that is happening.
Yes.
But because we have this device here, I'm able to understand your reality in a split second. They didn't have that.
We didn't, yeah.
And for that reason, they sold us out. But we have to give grace and recognize. It stops now.
We all have a job.
Everybody has a job.
That's very important what you're saying. You know, actually, I've never looked at it that way. We need to extend grace because this is a collective. This is actually a collective initiative. If one person does not do their job the way it's supposed to be done, we won't arrive. We won't get to there.
And it's true. And I think I had mentioned before we came on camera something that Paul Mwangi, Raila Odinga's lawyer, said the other day. He said, where we are is based on the decisions that we were making when we were their age. Okay? Now, we cannot continue making the decisions for 50 years when some of us will not be there and they are the ones who are going to be there. But I think I like your choice of words. This word grace. If we really understand that, then what it means is that we need to have the grace, first and foremost, to accept, like Paul Mwangi admitted, that we can't continue making decisions on behalf of these people, especially when we know in another 50 years or you know, some of us, if we are lucky, I mean, the life expectancy in Kenya now is less than 72 at the moment. So even the Ruto, who is really terrorizing us now, going by his age and going by the statistics, he only has another less than 15 years ago. You know, going by the statistics.
What is 15 years in the scale of a country?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Nothing in the scale of a country.
Exactly. And that's why you actually, it is very frustrating when people then don't accept that we need to actually find a way that we can let these people start making those changes and those decisions, because it's going to be their life. Most of the people who are in this cahoot in this cohort of Ruto right now, it's likely, especially because they've been living in a bad manners way. They have been naughty, they have done all the bad things, and they don't even have the peace of mind. most of them, they can't even they themselves, they know they won't be around in another 20 years or 25 years because they know what they have been doing. So for us not to admit and have the grace to accept that, it is time to find a way of passing the baton to these people so that together we can walk the journey, so that we can hand over the leadership to them, you know. And I know I'm not holding brief here for somebody like Maraga, and I was telling them earlier on that the only person who is in this political space who have clearly opened his mouth and said, we need to reset and understand that in a couple of years, we are not going to be around. These are the people who are going to be around. So all we need to do, find a way of resetting the conversation and the program so that ours is just to guide them to navigate through the waters, and then they can take over. Because after all, it is going to be their world. It's going to be their Kenya. The Kenya of 50 years from today, it's not going to be my Kenya. I know God could bless me with another 50 years, but it's not something that I can bet or put a coin on. But I know that my children and my children's children will be around. So if I can't do it, if I can't start doing the right things for that generation, for those people, it would be stupid. It would be futile. It would actually be almost, I don't even know what is the right word that I can use. But, somebody was telling me the other day, being stupid is being unaware that you're stupid and ignorant. So you become now a real stupid person.
It's being unaware of your own ignorance.
Being unaware. Unaware. Those are the words I was looking for. Yes. Being stupid is being unaware that you're ignorant. That is now when you can actually be called stupid. And the way we are behaving as Kenyans of my age is that we are being stupid. Literally. Because we are not admitting and accepting the fact that in another 20, 30 years, none of us will be around. Or at least none of us will be directing the activities of what is going to be happening in Kenya.
Hautakuwa mkubwa anymore.
Hautakuwa mkubwa,
mkubwa anymore.
So if we can accept that, Lynn,
then we are good.
We are good.
But maybe before we wind up, Irungo, there's something that Janet also said that I needed your input on, and this is the middle class, and I've seen also Oliver has referenced, we are happy about being comfortable as long as me, I'm not suffering, my parents are not suffering, my siblings are not suffering, me and then him demonstrate, right? And and it's playing such a huge role in delaying the movement and making sure that we don't get to where we are going on time. What advice would you want to give the middle class of our nation? And where do you think the comfort, the ignorance, lack of awareness comes from?
That's a very loaded question. I don't even know how to answer that, but I'll give it my best shot. I think you can look at it both from a microcosmic and a macrocosmic perspective. So for the microcosmic perspective, and I look at my own internal situation, you can look at it in a family structure. Within every family, generally, most families are making an assumption here, you tend to have members of the family, and I'm talking here of the clan and the extended members of the family. That's not an African way of thinking. Yes. We're all one family. There are those who are extremely well-to-do, and there are those who are middling, and there are those who are not so well-to-do. So now taking that perspective and moving it on a macrocosmic basis as a country, there's been something that really irks my heart, and is that sense of not caring for someone who's suffering. I've seen that attitude when I've been in Nairobi, and I've seen how people just literally look at the poor. They don't really show them any sort of kind-heartedness. And I recall just being in Nairobi and at a supermarket, and I gave something just very easily to someone who was asking for something. And the amount of thanks they gave me, I was like, isn't this normal? Because we see this in the UK all the time. But I think it's the general sense that capitalism has engineered a mentality of a lack of care, of the whole notion that when I make it, I'm sorted and I'm good. I don't need to care about anyone else. And I think the other thing as well that we have in Kenya is that we don't have any kind of social net. So when you don't have, it's you and God to help you. So that's all of that. But I think I'd like to sort of redirect the conversation to what are the solutions, and also looking at the positives. I think we were very fortunate that God sent us a man who found out about Adani, the whistleblower. the works behind the scenes to cover up what's taking place with Shah,
Yes.
what's actually going on with Safaricom, and all these things have been known by the public. We are also very glad to have probably one of the most informed and brilliant cohort of young people globally who are brilliant.
That's true. That's a fact.
That's an absolute
That is
fact.
now a fact.
And they obviously make sure that our borders are safe. They terrorize our neighbors like Tanzania when they try to misbehave. But more than that, they hold our government to account because they're able to utilize this information. And I think for me, what is key and what we should leave the young people as an encouragement is for them to utilize these tools even more, for them to read even more, for them to employ more better strategies. Now that you see that there's a plan for you to be shot directly and it's been said, what can you do instead of that? I think demonstrations, and it hurts me to say this, but I think they've reached currently, and I'm not saying there's room not for us to do it in the future, but currently it's reached its terminus. Let's look at other alternatives which are both legal, constitutional, and democratic, but at the same time innovative in order for us to kind of resolve this. So collecting data, more young people going out and getting the ID cards. That is still a massive.
That's a big thing.
That's a massive fallout.
It's a big thing. Actually, we haven't spoken about.
And that's me talking to guys on the ground. And also these guys who are social mobilizers, people actually getting to them and actually getting them to do the right thing, because what is actually taking place and takes place on a consistent basis is that the government agencies, the politicians, and obviously all the way to the very top, they make sure that they mobilize these people and later on call them goons when they're doing the wrong things.
Of course.
These are people who are either underemployed, unemployed, have no prospects. Some of them are not even Gen Zs. They've been literally generationally unemployed. So the only thing to do for them is to do hustles. And politicians make use of them, and later on they're made as scapegoats. And I say this very painfully because a lot of them have actually been seriously hurt. Neither in their mtaa can they go back, and neither in the village are they wanted. And some of their own people in the village are also getting hit with the crossfires because of what they've done during the protests. So we need to kind of look at this in a macro, in a kind of panoramic view, and actually look at the type of solutions that we can actually engineer. And dragging back what everyone else has said, I think it's also getting the older generation into the conversation. And ultimately, to finalize and finish up, my own particular point, I think the day that we don't discuss politics endlessly the way we do will be the day that we actually realize we're moving somewhere. And hopefully, as the years go by, that will be talking about what are the policies that we can change. How is this working? How can we tweak it?
Thank you.
If the conversation can move in that direction,
Yes.
instead of talking about the president, which is very tiresome,
Very tight.
then we'll know that Kenya is moving forward. Now, and if you can say like Moi, at that point we'll be say, iyo ni maendeleo.
Hiyo ni maende. I love that. Tony, you're smiling.
Yeah, I'm looking at what Irungo is saying, and for me, I think there's some things that sometimes go into my head when I see the way we demonstrate in Kenya, and sometimes I wonder, as we talk about the middle class and things like that, sometimes I wonder if the middle class in Kenya woke up one day, right, packed their lunch in their cars, right, went onto Uhuru Highway, Mombasa Road, Waiyaki Way, Thika Road, and parked their cars on those roads.
Thank you.
No demonstrations, no noise, no nothing. Right? You just sit there with your packed lunch, get yourself a book, get yourself an audio or that expressway, and just stay put. And do that for several days. Would we not be able to send a clear message to this government? What are the middle? Because I know we always fear that when there is that that exchange of fire and all that, I can't run fast enough and all that kind of thing. Yeah, but if really we could do something like that, you can actually feel safe.
Yep.
So why? Sometimes I ask myself, why is it that the middle class and the people who think that ati tuko sawa, why is it that we can't find innovative ways of doing a demonstration and protesting so that we can link up with these people without appearing like Wendawazimu? Because some old men sometimes they say that what these guys are doing is Wendawazimu, and yet they are not doing their own sane way of protesting. And those kind of protests have worked elsewhere, because as long as the Gen Zs are organized, they can even protect these middle-aged people and the middle-income people from being, hurt in our vehicles and things like that, so that we make it possible that anybody who is going to fly that day from JKIA, come a hand in a helicopter, ajipange.
Yes.
And I can tell you, if the middle-aged and the middle-income Kenyans did that 3 or 4 times, several times,
Someone would listen.
somebody would listen.
And something would
So we
change.
need to stop terrorizing these guys and telling them, oh, you are being hooligans, or you're doing this. What are we doing about it?
What are you doing?
And we have those options open to us
Yes.
in the safe space that we think this is a safe space that I can work in. We have got those safe spaces. So why are we not doing that?
I love that. That's an idea for you guys. Maybe next time we think of protesting, let's make sure we include that. But something else you brought up, voting, registration, people making sure that they are well prepared. What do you want to tell your fellow Gen Zs, the people in your generation? And how important is this when it comes to us, demanding for change?
One, kama una ID, and I'll register. Just it's as simple as that. Hauna ID and I'll register. People sometimes when it comes to voting, wanasemanga atiyo, Mimi, I don't want to vote. I don't see a candidate I can vote for. They're all just as bad as each other. And when I was thinking, because you go through lots of different thought processes during an election, and when I was thinking to myself, oh, do I really want to be that person who doesn't vote? Sometimes I watch political series, and I think I was watching Madam Secretary or something like that. And she had now developed, as the series continues, she starts as the Secretary General of America, and she moves up to become the president. And her daughter didn't want to vote. And this lady, the secretary, made such a big deal about the daughter not voting. She's like, how could you do this? What do you mean they're all the same as each other? And I thought, why is she so upset? And then I realized, if you don't vote, you're just as bad as that politician who is stealing money. Let me break it down for you again.
Okay.
It comes back to, I said everybody needs to play their part.
Absolutely.
And everybody needs to follow the constitution and the issue will be closed. If you don't wake up and go and vote, out of the 5, if we have 5 cans of trash, if you don't vote for one of those cans of trash, you have no business complaining about anything about the state of the country.
Yep.
Absolutely.
No business at all. You must put yourself in a position where you have done your part.
Yeah.
Because however big or small, if nobody does their part, we don't reach our destination. Ni vile ulisema tunachelewa. Time is running out. The reason we're not reaching where we want to go is because people are not doing their job. It is as simple as get your ID and go and vote. That's it. Once you've done your part, unaweza uliza Tekla we kwa nini umfanyi yako. But until the time you have not you've done your part.
Don't question
Don't question what anybody else is doing. Don't complain there's no road. Don't complain I can't get a job. Don't complain things are expensive. You must do your part. And as you do your part, you encourage others to do theirs. It is part in the constitution being a patriot. In fact, in the constitution, I think it says that you are supposed to be patriotic to your country.
Your civic duty.
It is your civic duty, thank you for finding the words, to be patriotic to your country.
Yeah.
And we used to be asked in the exam, when I was in primary, we used to be asked, what are ways of being patriotic to your country? And one of those ways was voting. It is written, do your part and vote. And as you're doing your part, tell others to do their. Make sure ule mwingine pia anafanya yake. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Lynn, on this issue of voting, please. I need to, because there's something that has been going on in my head about voting.
Yes.
And this guy called John C.W. has come up with this blockchain.
Yes.
Yes,
Voting
yes,
the system.
yes.
Right. And I've been sitting, and I know there are all sorts of ideas, skeptics about what you can do with blockchain and things like that. And for me, the thing that I would want to do today, Lynn, is to appeal to the youngsters, the people who are on this mulengo of our side, to try and find as much as they can about how that system could work, right? Because again, as I said, this is your election. This is your country. This is your future.
Yeah.
And some of us are quite adaptable because we understand where this country should go. And over the years, as much as we have resisted the blockchain manenos, we know that it is affecting us left, right, and center. You know? So we do understand that. And for me, you know, I could have asked you this question as to what do you think about the blockchain thing? Because I get, and I've written this in all the places, I get challenged by even the thinking of the diasporans like us, where the last time in this country, I think we had about 3,000 votes.
Yeah, 3,000.
3,000 votes. With a population of more than 250,000, 300,000, almost a million, right? And when I was watching John C.W. demonstrating about the blockchain, he was saying that it is one space that can give us the opportunity, all of us in the diaspora, to vote in the next elections. And not only that, in his own demonstrations, which has not been disputed by anybody, it would save our beautiful country more than 27 billion shillings if we were to go down that election. 27 billion shillings. You know,
so many
you know.
hospitals.
So for me, what I'm asking, and I'm asking you guys,
Yeah.
you know, what are you doing in terms of sensitizing and amplifying that thought? Because for me, the little that I understand about the blockchain is that it really could cure a lot of things in terms of the way we have now become so accustomed to knowing that your vote will not count.
Yes.
So you don't even vote.
Yeah.
Because I know, even as you're telling these guys to get their votes, we have this cliche that goes, it's not the vote that counts. It's the person who counts the vote.
Kishaibu.
Kishaibiwa. So that you get people who don't even want to go and vote.
Yeah.
So, and for me, you know, I listened to that guy and he was asking somebody, if you're having challenges and you're being skeptical about this blockchain, isn't it gonna take you to the same place where you are, where you're using this current system, where you still don't know whether your vote counts or not? You know, and for me, what I would really want to challenge the people who are tech savvy, who understand more about the blockchain and all that kind of thing, to see how they can get us on board, the older generation like us, so that we can support this system, not just for the diaspora. Because the way CW, you know, explained that whole system is that it is something that can get not only to protect the vote, but to get as many people voting, so that even now when you actually vote, because, you know, like in those olden days, we used to have by-elections where a constituency that has got about 100,000 voters would end up being, the voter turnout would be about 3,000, and they decide who is going to become an MP. It doesn't make sense to me. You understand? So if in this instance we can find ways to encourage a highest voter turnout, and especially for us one term, we know that a large voter turnout is a sure way of sending Kasongo home.
Good. Honestly, the more I listen to all of you, even individually, the more I realize how many topics we could actually even cover, you know. And I know this is, I know this is just one episode. We've not even scratched the surface, honestly. But I've really loved, you know, just picking your brains on what is happening back in the country. When I listen to young people, like you saying, people are messing up with where you need to go, you know, the hopes of even coming back home. When I listened to Tekra talking about, you know, how much she loved, you know, the idea. We get compliments about this bracelet everywhere we go, but I share in her thoughts. Sometimes you don't even have the courage to tell people why you're wearing it. You just wear it, but you don't even have the courage. And, you know, we've just spoken about black, white, red, and I know we've not even touched on matters land, because this is a very, and agriculture, because that's a lot that is happening in that sector as well. You know, food sovereignty, you know, they try to sell us food security every time, but what we need are GMOs. You know, we need to have conversations on food sovereignty, because this is what is killing majority of us. We cannot afford the basics. Our food is being interfered with. Our land, all of it is going to conservancies. You have people who you can't even tell how they got to own such huge tracts of land, you know.
Yeah.
But I believe these are conversations that we will keep having. It's a challenge for me also to involve the people in diaspora, whether I have to travel with my team and just come and have as many conversations as this, you know. I feel like that alone can be very, very inclusive in how we move forward. So as Joshua is saying, maybe does this represent how majority of people in diaspora are feeling? We actually did look for someone who is pro-Ruto. Like, I want to know why someone is supporting this government. My stance, I know, yeah, you are supposed to be, you know, as a journalist, you're supposed to be, I've told people, time is up. This whole thing of you're supposed to be one, you know, you shouldn't pick sides. That's not something we have the luxury of doing right now. What is wrong, and what is right. But do you think you guys, you represent majority views of how people in diaspora feel?
If I was to be honest,
Yeah.
I would say that one of the reasons why you found even the earlier regimes have had challenges with the diaspora is because we don't support a rogue regime. It didn't matter. You know, some of us, like for example myself, I didn't support Uhuru's regime when it started going rogue.
Yes.
In fact, I have to be honest with you, even when Kibaki started going off the rail, I stopped supporting him. I voted for Raila on the second term of Kibaki.
Yeah.
I voted against Uhuru the first term. I voted against him the second term. And of course, I voted against Ruto, you know, on his first term, you know. And this is also to say that this mambo ya tribalism, that people are just, you know, just voting in tribalism or we don't like Ruto.
Yeah.
It's really, to be honest, BS, if I may be allowed to say that.
You're allowed.
Yeah. So for me, I wouldn't say that there aren't people here in this country who support Ruto. That would be a lie because they are there.
Yeah.
But I can say without any fear of contradiction that at least almost 90% of the diasporans, going by what Ruto has been doing over the last 3 years, if they were to be given this space where they don't fear that they are going to lose their head or their limb, they would say exactly what we are saying. But I will repeat again, there are people here who would still support Ruto and who support Ruto. Finally, if you allow me, because I know we are running out of time,
No, go on.
I would want to address Ruto.
Yes.
You know? Because for me, like I said, it's not about Ruto. And just like Irongo, some of us hoped that after June 2025, Ruto would change. In fact, one of the things I was hoping is that he would extricate himself from being held at ransom by the Murkomens and the Farouks and everybody and say, look, guys, it is not me who has rejected you. It is the Gen Z and the people of Kenya. That is what my head was telling me, that is what Ruto was going to do. And I expected him to do a turnaround and change the direction, because now he would have actually been able to remove himself from the yoke of those people who have held him captive. If at all, I don't agree really that the reason Ruto is so bad is because of the people who surround him. Because as I said, and I repeat again, the fish rots from the head. If Ruto was good, he would be fighting off the Farouks and everybody else. At least we would be seeing that evidence. So for me, as much as we blame the Farouks and the Murkomens and things like that, we must admit, and I admit, and I have no apologies to make about this, if Ruto was a better person, because the only reason why we still have a lot of respect for Kibaki is when the rogue people came about on his second term, he's fought off. You know, and he still stayed, and he stayed above the water, even with all the people who still wanted to steal left, right, and center, including Ruto. People forget that Ruto was actually fired from that government because of the maize scandal thing. You know, in agriculture. You see, so for me, I don't want to buy that story that you guys are saying that the problem that we're having here is not Ruto. It's the people who surround him. But that's a story for another day. I hope you can do another conversation of that. But what I would probably say to Ruto is this. He can still salvage himself, because for me, it doesn't matter who is the next ruler of Kenya. It doesn't matter whether it is Ruto himself, or it is Raila, or it's even Wangari Karua. It doesn't matter to me. The things that I would ask Ruto, please do these 4 things if you want to turn around the country.
Go on.
1, declare enough is enough. in terms of looting and corruption matters. Declare that enough is enough. Forget about declaring enough is enough in matters of security. Declare enough is enough in terms of looting the Kenyan coffers. That is the first thing that I would want Ruto to do, because if Ruto stopped the people who are looting left, right, and center, there would be sufficient money for him to take that money to the people through the services, so that he doesn't have to mount a very big war chest for the elections in 2027. So he would still probably get the votes, but he would get from the goodwill, not from the money. So that is the first thing that I would ask Ruto to do. The second thing that I would ask him to do is to stop terrorizing Kenyans and wanting to herd us into a certain direction using fear. Because fear and all those terror will work for the dead. I can use a good example of you, Lynn. The reason why I hugged you here is because you epitomize courage for me. And for me, what I say and what I can tell Ruto is, you can terrorize and create fear in the people that you're killing. The ones who die, they will die with fear because they can't fight back, they can't show courage. But the ones who are alive, like me and you, will still continue showing courage and will still continue talking and defending our rights. So let him stop that. So please, Ruto, stop terrorizing Kenyans. The other thing that I would ask him to do is to allow the rule of law to take center stage in what we are doing. The constitution, okay? Let the systems work. Because from what I said about the magistrate, I wasn't saying about that magistrate and about the judge. All I'm trying to say is that we bought into the yarn in 2022 when we were told everybody is a thief in Kenya. Everybody is bad. Like there are no good people amongst us or in the midst of us who can deliver the dream of Kenyans. And we bought that, you know? And that is why you still find people saying, oh, who would have been a better person? Who did you guys want to elect if not Ruto? Because we bought into that yarn, which was incidentally sold by the Kenya Kwanza government, that everybody is rotten, everybody is a thief, you know? And that is actually how you got the Kikuyu say, we want these thieves. Now they know that the thieves that they elected are bad. Yes. So let Ruto, please obey the law. Let us follow the constitution. Let us follow the rule of law so that we can change everything. And this is where I find Maraga coming across and connecting with me, because he's saying, you do not need anything else to change in Kenya. You just need to cultivate a way that we follow the rule of law. What already is there? In fact, I would add something which I told Irongo the other day. We don't even need parliament today. Why do I say that? It is because we already have the laws in Kenya. We have the systems. Right now, even if we stayed for another 10 years without MPs, the laws we have in Kenya and the systems that we have in Kenya, they can work without members of parliament.
It's a really good constitution.
Yeah, we have all that. So let him, because the interference is what is leading to this. And that is why now, for me, parliament is redundant. They don't deliver for us. So, and that's why I can say unequivocally that even if we didn't have parliament today, we can still function.
Yes.
So the last thing that I would say is that enable a business environment to take root in Kenya. A few months ago, I had to go back to Kenya to close a shop, a small business here and there. It is because the policemen coming there every day collecting their tokens and things like that, they're actually making a profit when I'm not making a profit. Everybody knows when you start a business, the first year, second year, that year, you are hardly even breaking even.
Yes.
But the policemen will come to your joint to collect money every day, every day, every day. Look at what Samia has done. We may not like the Tanzanians, but yesterday, the Tanzanian decided these small businesses of kuuza vitu mtaani, no foreigner will do those businesses.
Yes.
You understand?
Very good policy.
Yes.
It's a very good policy. And they passed that.
Yeah.
They have banned foreigners from doing the small juakali businesses in their country. That is something that can benefit us Kenyans, because we will stop the hooliganism, we will stop all the disobedience of law and order, and the Gen Zs not being employed or gainfully employed. We would stop that. And to cap it all, what Ruto needs to know and what Kenyans need to know is that Kenyans, we are very good at minding our own business.
Very.
We would have no business going to demonstrate on the streets of Nairobi
Yes.
if Ruto was doing the right thing. We would be doing our ngemi, We'll be doing the Luo night.
Yes.
We'll be doing, I don't know, whatever.
Kenyan friends in the
Kenyan
park.
friends in the park. We would be sorted.
Yes.
We would not even bother with him. We would not even care what he does and what he doesn't
Yes.
do if he did the right things. So if he can do only those 4 things for me, I could probably even be persuaded to even vote for him in 2027.
And Tony, if I can,
Because it doesn't matter for me who is
Yeah.
president in
In the
2027.
Oh, no.
Tony,
It doesn't matter.
You don't
Tony,
have to like
and
to
if
do
I can
the
add
job.
if I can add a final
Go on,
point to
Ngugi.
you,
Please, thank you.
I will just say ultimately, and this goes back to what Janet said and what we've all agreed upon in unison about Pan-Africanism. Stop being a stooge for the West.
Absolutely.
All African leaders need to stop bowing down and kowtowing. We've seen what kowtowing. We've seen what Ibrahim Traore is doing. This is the path in which Africa is going. And it's nothing difficult. It's simply loving yourself and doing what's best for your country and ultimately for Africa.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I agree. The 4 points you've made are fantastic.
Absolutely.
If you think this issue will not find you where you are, it will find you. Let me give you an example. And this is not out of malice or anything. I have a dear friend who I went with to high school. Huh? She recently came to the UK. Huh? So she's flown to the UK. The mother was in the situation she was in. She gave the money she needed to give, which is all she had, and she sent her daughter on her way. I've sent you, umeenda Ulaya, sasa ni wewe na wewe. Sindio? She's reached. It's been 3 years she's been here. The mother calls her, oh, I'm sick. Remember the mother gave everything for her to get on the plane and go? And go. How long has my friend been here? 3 years. She's been minding her own business. She was called where she was that the mother is sick and she needed a surgery. There's no NHIF. There's Shifsha, all of these things. Yeah. Guess who made sure there's no NHIF? Ruto and his team. Because the first thing I remember I asked my friend when she told me the mom is sick and there's nobody to pay for the surgery. Oh, there's NHIF. Oh, wait, there's no NHIF. This is a conversation I had with my friend less than 3 weeks ago. The issue came and found her here. It flew.
All the way.
It flew all the way. And I'm not saying my friend deserved this. She didn't at all. No. She's actually quite politically involved. But guess what? The issue came and found her on the other side of it took an 8-hour flight and
Straight
came
here.
and found her in her bed after work at 5 p.m.
Yes.
If you think this issue will not find you where you are, you are so busy, oh, this has nothing to do with me. I'm driving my Range Rover, I'm doing what I have my farm, I have my business.
Oliver is not a fan
And
of
it's
Range
not,
Rover. He's going hard at Range Rover drivers. Yes.
it's not even,
No.
honestly,
But we get the point. Though.
you get the point.
Yes.
It will find you on your doorstep.
There.
I promise you. So just like I said, just make sure you're doing your part. It's that simple.
Yes.
And I think that would be my parting point for me.
All right. How can people connect with you?
How can people connect with me? I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
My middle Declan Boy. So
All right.
Declan Boy, you can find me on
All right.
Instagram. Yeah.
The handle is on the screen. Huh?
Yeah.
Right. Takra.
Yes, so I have a lot in mind.
Go on.
A lot in mind, but not a lot to say, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I tend to read a lot of articles. I tend to digest a lot of information. And there's one pattern I've noticed with Mr. Ruto. So he's attacking what I'd call the social infrastructure. What makes the poor poor and what makes the rich rich? Because if you cannot afford healthcare, or if I'm middle class, fine, and then I'm hit by a Ngugi, and then my foot breaks, I go to hospital, I need to pay 10 million. Kama hiyo ndio ilikuwa my savings, I'm now poor, yeah? So, and the social infrastructure is healthcare, education. Right now, we've seen schools are almost in the verge of being closed down. Universities already are attacked. Primary school, they were supposed to be given 22,000, but only 8,000. That was in first term. Second term is done, you know. So clearly, education that we knew from Kibaki time, the free education, right now is going to be a privilege. So we are sliding back to a very illiterate, generation. He's also attacking healthcare. Budget year 2020 and now has dropped of healthcare. It's way below the Africa, like the Abuja Declaration that he signed, like Kenya signed up for. What we're using to fund healthcare and education is way below the standard. And what does that mean? If you're so disempowered, if you do not have the financial might to access those services, then that means if that MP comes around now and gives you that 50 bob, utachukua, because it looks random. It looks, ni iyo pesa education imeenda defense. But it's not, it's a steady cycle, so that tukifika 2032, when his cronies are not starting to take power, they have no one to fight them. Because we are so disempowered, we have, no we education. Tumeisha. That is literally what they're trying to do. Well engineered. It is slow, but you can see it, it's so glaring to the eye. I mean, right now the percentage of poor and rich, the rich now ata wameongezeka. I think we are almost top 3 in Africa. But now the gap of the poor, the person who was earning 15,000, sasa kama walikuwa 50 wamekuwa 100. I mean, companies have closed down, a lot of companies. So it's very deliberate. And this notion of Gen Zs are fighting, like we're just heckling. We don't have information or we don't have any basis. It's because we have sat down, we have analyzed, we have checked the data, and we can see things are not just working, but they're deliberately made not to work.
That's
so
a big point.
It's
deliberate.
It's so deliberate.
The keyword is deliberate. It's been engineered.
Exactly. So it's something that we need to take note of, because we do not want that gap. It's going to be so hard for us to sew it back when we have these kids who have not gone to school, and then now us who, we've Kibaki alitusomesha. That gap, when we try to merge that gap, these guys will have gone and depleted the entire generation, and it will be so hard for us to recover. So my plea is, back wherever you are, look at the basic things that you cannot or you can access. What empowers you? What makes you, like what ile unaweza peleka watoto wako out on a Sunday, simple stuff like that can be snatched, not because of watakuja wakuibie, no, but the gradual weakening that they are making for like whatever environment they're like making us Kenyans face. It's going to hurt you, it's going to come for you, and recovering, I don't even think we can do that. I mean, right now, it's Uhuru, of course, alituweka in a mess. Right now, it's 2025 and we have not even started. We are still down, like tumekanyagwa kabisa. So, right now that we have an awakening of some sort, let's use it to get our voters cards. Let's use it to come out and vote. Let us not be, usishtuke hata wakisema hiyo siku ya election watatuvunja miguu. Wacha tuvunjiwe miguu huko. But yeah, I mean, we've seen countries that have fought for, where they are right now. Traore is literally trying to build his country from the West. Scratch. Exactly. And it's unfortunate that for us, we are privileged that Kenya is at where it is economically. But now we have someone who's selling us to the highest bidder. And we cannot accept that. No, we cannot accept that. Like we're not daft, we are informed. Like we have a lot of information right now. So let's use that to empower ourselves, and not just ourselves. I try so hard to my grandmother back uko Ushago. Hata kama nikienda leo aseme hapana Ruto, I won't give up. I'll continue, and it's breaking down. Let's try and break down this information to the simplest form. And it's not propaganda. Siendi kuambia mtu one term because I want to say one term. No, I have facts. I have these reports. There is information that we have.
You have receipts.
Yes, receipts. Ziko.
Yes.
So, see propaganda.
Yes.
You know, it's not propaganda.
Yes.
If it was hating, honestly, I wouldn't be here.
Good.
Because I wouldn't spend my entire day hating
On someone.
or
Or on a system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's because we can see, I mean, this is data driven. We can see what is working and what is not working. I mean, back home, sahi nikienda gari una potholes, unabidi umebudget tires zenye hata huko umebudget before. Unaona?
Ni zinaitangwa bushes.
Bushes. Hizo vitu zote.
Bushes is every time. Kila saa. Unaenda huko suspension, you're just replacing parts all the time. Kwanza sisi watu wa village. All the time.
All the time.
Huku bushes are supposed to last what? Maybe a couple years? In Kenya? Years?
Zina lasting years.
Yeah, they last
You can
years.
even throw a cow in grass. You will never change them.
Last years. In Kenya, you're changing bushes almost every service. Almost
Oh, yeah,
every
every
year.
service.
Almost every
service.
service you're changing bushes, which is very unheard of here. Yeah,
But
that's a
sasa,
fact.
look, Lynn, kama vile umekuja huko. Assuming you've used the red bus.
Yes.
Yeah? That's a system that's working. And it's, I mean, as much as the government has not penetrated like everywhere. Where I'm from, like Saipali nimetoka, it's like a private public partnership, but it works. Kama siko baya, anaitwa nani? George Ruto, the one who has the matatu. Such things thrive in a system that has been weakened deliberately. Our transport system it's a service. Si ati uko biashara hapo. You're not there kuomoka. Unafaa utusaidie, like you're supposed to help us move from point A to point B, but they've made a system that kwa matatu yani ni business, unaenda kuomoka,
inaitwa culture.
Umeinvest.
Alafu tukaita culture.
I mean, it's
Tukaipea
fine.
China.
I understand the culture is there, but you cannot tell me nimeinvest 30 million kwa mat. I'm just there to help you move. No, I'm there to recoup.
Yes.
And then one last thing that I was telling Tony I'm quite afraid of is the environment that Ruto's government has created for gangs and goons. I told him, for me, naweza sema 2007 was, for me, not predictable. I did not see, or I did not even think such violence can occur. But for this guy, 2027, he's building that environment here. Goons can actively, people can just form cohorts of gangs and terrorize you. For the last 2 days, Outer Ring Road has been chaotic. Why? 2 rival gangs are fighting. I can't remember the last time I heard something like that. That is a very dangerous precedent in terms of if we have such an environment of gangs that are thriving. What stops them from being politicized?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that when 2027, my MP, Babu, if I decide I also want to be an MP of Embakasi East and then Ashindwe, what stops him from unleashing a gang or something? Exactly. Because they have been weaponized, they have been politicized, they've been given that platform. So that's one thing. I don't want to make assumptions that Ruto is given that environment. But if he is, or if he's not, let him extinguish that as soon as now. Because I'm not happy. Watu walikuwa nasema, walikuwa nasema Ruto and the ICC, si ndio? I'm not happy when Ruto goes to ICC later in 2027 if something happens. Because at the back of it, people have lost lives. It's not a matter of him going. Yes. It's a matter of people have lost lives.
Stop it now.
So stop it as soon as now. Because that thing is, for me, it's scary. I see it happening. Au magunzi wakitembea na mapolisi. And I'm like, whatever is starting, wacha tu sahi. Wacha tu sahi. Because there's a reason why there are goons and there are gangs. They can be uncontrollable. We don't want to lose lives. I mean, 2007, I was young. I was quite young, but it was scary. It was really scary. I don't want to see people, thousands and thousands of Kenyans losing lives because someone back in his office aliona ile ni gang ya Kiamaiko. Kiamaiko ni mbali na nini Kilelesho hata hawezi fika. Let him, if he, of course he's aware, Mr. Ruto, extinguish that now. Like now, if kama umeshindwa na vitu zingine, stop that now, because we do not want to lose more lives. It's too much. So let him stop it. Kama kuna kitu kingine hawezi, hiyo aache tu.
It's funny how when you're having this conversation, you spot things you are not even thinking about, you know.
Yeah.
You spot
And that's heavy.
things that
you know,
you are not thinking about.
And I think this is the key to what you're saying.
Yeah.
About people not really taking note of what is happening, as if it's out there and we are out here. You know, and you know, it's funny because I can tell you, and this is true. I had paid for a shop on Outer Ring Road, and I've been waiting to think what I should do with that shop. But now with the kind of gangsterism that is happening there, I'm actually just thinking whether I should just give it back, because I can't figure out how I'm going to do business in that area, because it will mean at some point I will have to align with one of the gangs to protect me. Now when things get there, it is bad. And you see now, what option do I have is to stop investing or doing business in Kenya. And so when people say that people are packing and running away, we are a living example. Right now, you know, I could have actually started the shop 3 months ago. I've been actually paying for the shop for 3 months without any goods in it or without any activity. Because, you know...
You're not guaranteed of
Because you're not guaranteed, you know. So it's real. And I think what you're saying, people really need to connect the dots as to whatever Ruto is doing right now, even if he's saying the other things that he's doing. Yeah. Because for me, what we have made a mistake of is actually buying that there are some things that Ruto is doing right, but compared to who or compared to which other country? You know, at this point, what I believe, like now what you said about transport, we should be comparing our transport system with the London transport.
Yes.
Because at the very least, Lynn, some of us, like Irongo, we remember there was a Kenya bus. Yeah. Kenya bus used to operate routes. You know, in the morning you leave at 7:15. You'll get. I used to live in Isli. You leave at 7:15. At 7:30, you'll be at Jamhuri, where I went to school. Yeah. Now you knew those things were happening. You knew in Nairobi when you hit 65 or 70, you're going to be given a bad pass to roam around the city. Yes. Whenever you wanted. Yes. Without paying a bus pass.
I was now Kenya bus was really good.
You know,
I heard it was really good.
It was beautiful. Yeah. You know, so for me, and you know, these are the things that sometimes you fear, that because if you enter into this space of the matatus, it is a dangerous space. But to be very, very honest, if Sakaja had his right head and heart in the right place, somebody would find a way of waiving and removing the matatus from Nairobi.
Because we actually saw the evolution. I was there. I was there sort of actually seeing the matatus evolve. Yeah. So this was almost, how can you say, let's call a spade a spade. You probably wouldn't like me saying this, but this is the ghettoization of Nairobi culture.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is the ghettoization, because me, I grew up speaking Sheng. Bado leo nashika rada. Lakini, you know, sinanga hizi ma story lakini bado niko. Yeah? You know, it's literally informalizing our city and informalizing our society and our general way of thinking as a country, where basically what this all boils down to is one thing. We just don't take ourselves seriously. Our politicians don't take themselves seriously. The youth don't. The middlings don't. No one does. And it's like a level of complacency that are setting where we think life is just a big joke. And we're all having fun in it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's time for us to enjoy ourselves in life. There's room for that. But you know that stems from that kind of mentality, which has obviously become very pervasive everywhere.
And I think it ties out with what Tekla was saying here, in terms of Ruto running a deliberate system to disenfranchise the masses who are below a certain grade that he seems not to like, or that he seems to know that if I manipulate this section, I will always be able to tilt them to the direction that I want without them questioning. You know, because for me, like now, and a quick good example, and I was thinking, because when we talk about the system, and Lynn, I know you have now experienced what happens here in London, you know that we have a good transport for London that works, you know, almost miraculously, you know, day and night, 24/7, you know.
And it's not even the best in Europe.
Yes, it is not even the best one. You go to Holland, they have a system there. Now, for me, the most painful thing is to imagine that you think that you can discipline the Matatu people to run a system. That will never happen. It will never happen. So what somebody needs to do really is to make a deliberate decision to find a transport. Because for me, there are things that a country should do in terms of health, in terms of transport, education. Those are things that keep a country moving. You can't leave it to the forces of anybody who wants to make money. And I can say the tragedy of what happened yesterday about the cabinet agreeing to sell KPC. Yes. You know? Yeah. People, Kenyans,
one of the only profitable
parastatal in Kenya. Yep. And this is a parastatal. If Kenyans don't wake up and protest against that decision, one of the things that the repercussions of that decision is that it has a direct effect on the cost of fuel. Absolutely. Eventually. Because this is going to go into private hands. Yes. They will dictate how much they are going to charge us using that pipeline from Mombasa to Nairobi. It's a no-brainer for somebody to know and accept that.
That's been in the works since 2023. So
exactly.
It doesn't come as a surprise at all.
Absolutely. And for me, I was actually studying that thing, and I was looking at this what is the infatuation with this KPC? Yes. And I was looking at KPC when I was looking at some data that I was looking for. This is because of the money that is there. So KPC is not being sold because it doesn't make money or it's not a profitable business. Because even as it is making money right now, the pilferage that is going on at KPC today
is very high.
Is very, very high. And that is why you'll find at KPC, almost for the last 20 years, no single MD has lasted more than 3 years. Because it's either you sing the tune, you give the money, if you don't, get out. It doesn't matter how good you are. And you can actually Google that. For the last 20 years, there is not, that I know of, a single MD who has lasted at KPC for their normal term of 3 years.
And with every regime, if you check parastatals, with every regime, check all the parastatals, there's a rotation. Yes, exactly. The regime rotates, the MDs in the parastatal rotate. It happens all the time. And it's always friends of the new regime who have come in. People who need to be paid back for injecting into their campaign. Always.
So for me, Lynn, Kenyans really, because this is serious. This is not just, this is, like now what you're talking about the gang. For me, KPC is serious stuff. But I can see, like, even when those news appeared on the newspapers yesterday, I didn't even see anybody making noise about it. And this is a thing that is going to affect Tekla in her own bedroom. Because it means that you have to make sure that you either get home early, kabla fare hajaenda juu, or you go home late after imeteremka.
Yes.
See, that's true. So, and yet we have an institution like KQ, ambayo some of us in the diaspora, we can buy it and be using it as the only airline to go home. And we can do that. We can buy Kenya Airways, and be using it. Because right now, I don't even know what Kenya Airways does. Because you look at the people who use Kenya Airways to go to Nairobi, they are less than 50% of the people who fly into Nairobi. Simply because it's mismanaged. It's not making us
bad reviews.
And it's not that they didn't used to do well. Let me tell you something about KQ. I've flown with lots of different airlines. Yeah. And let me tell you, KQ is so close, if not above, a lot of these international carriers. Way back when. Way back when KQ used to really, that thing where they used to write the Pride of Africa on the side of the plane. It was a real thing. It was a real thing. And now every time I'm talking to people about KQ, siku hizi si mzuri vile ilikuanga.
But I can still say, to give them what is due to them. Yes. When you compare them with still a lot of many other airlines, they're still very, very good. Their customer service is very, very good. But sometimes I attribute it to the fact that because of the joblessness levels in Kenya, the crew have got to behave because they know they can easily lose their job when they get those. So so that's what I think.
Yes.
So that's probably what I think. But in terms of the service that they deliver, is very, very good. But when you look at the airfares, like now I was looking for a flight, and I was comparing with any other airline, and you find Kenya Airways is charging 1,500, and you can get the same flight going direct to Nairobi for 900 pounds. It doesn't make sense. And sometimes you just wonder, this is our national carrier. Why can't they even come up with a situation where, like, we in the diaspora can be given certain concessions?
Unapewa 20% off.
So that
every Kenyan in the diaspora will fly with that airline. I can tell you.
I know they will watch.
Somebody contact someone in KQ and tell them
exactly. So that, Lynn, you don't have to go through Qatar.
There's a lot of money to be made, which will have a direct effect on their productivity.
I feel like,
if they're looking for money, the money is here.
If you are charging 1,500 and I can get another flight for 900 pounds, nata unipati discount. For what? For where?
You know,
for where?
I mean,
you know,
it doesn't make sense, and that's why you find I can challenge them with their statistics. They can see how many Kenyans, people who are using Kenyan passport, who are not flying direct to Nairobi, they are going through Qatar, through Addis Ababa,
Saudi,
all over the place.
Yeah, but I know we are gonna have these conversations. But Tony, I noticed I did not ask you for your connect details. How can people connect with you?
Okay.
Yes.
The first and foremost, I do private franchise.
Yes.
And I'm in health.
This is you?
Because I said I'm in healthcare.
Okay.
I support healthcare systems, you know, taking the right drinks for your energy drink. That is why I take this, okay? Doing multivitamins and proteins and things that support good health. Because one of the things that I'm very clear about is that it doesn't matter how much money I make. If I'm not healthy, it adds up to nothing.
Health is wealth.
Health, yeah, actually that is what is on my thing. Health is wealth.
Yes.
So if you don't have, so that is what I promote in my part-time when I'm not doing the other biasharas of trying to deal with the Ruto men in Kenya, doing the biashara in Kenya. So this is what I do here locally. So I use Instagram, Tony Levy.
So is this your brand?
It's not my brand, but it's a private franchise.
Okay.
So I bought a franchise here. And you can even have it actually.
Sasa mimi nimeshinda hapa na maji. We will see now, these Londoners guys. You know now, in Africa you go visit someone and they give you everything. Maji, bananas, nini, everything in the house. Now Tony is just there sipping this by himself. You know?
But you see, I was holding it for you. That's why I didn't sip on it.
No, I appreciate it.
Because
but I cut you shorter. Go on and give your handles, please.
Yeah. So Tony Levy, that is TONNY.
Yeah.
LIVY.
Janet?
Okay, I don't have much to say because everyone has said everything.
Yes.
And I'm just going to point what Tony has said. Ruto, we just want you to respect the rule of law because you are the president and the buck stops with you. Because we've seen people being killed, dying, but it's never come to call the accountability. So he needs to be accountable for everybody. Now, when you Baba Wataiva, so like how our father looks after his family, you have to look after Kenyans. So that's what we are asking you. And to the young Gen Zs who have been out demonstrating, I need you to take ID card. Because there's no point of us going to demonstrate. But when it comes to the ballot, I'm not It makes nothing. Because I was on the 22 election in Kenya, and all the people who came to vote were just like show, just those old women. And they still have that Kano mentality that we just vote when you're up and down. So we need to get IDs. And I think that's what we need to advocate. And also the Gen Zs, I want you to have this civic education with your moms, with your aunties, with your grandparents. Tell them why they need to vote people of accountability. Wachana industry na mtu wangu, because we need to change how things are working. Because you are the guys who are going to be there in the next 30 years. My granny, she's 98. She won't be there in the next, God knows, like 5 years. But she still goes to vote because she still has that kind of mentality. Na akisikia Gen Z anawaambia wacheni nyinyi mtaenda kuliwa. So she still have that mindset. It's hard to change. But we can change our mothers, our aunties. So you need to give that civic education. And that's all what I can see. And let's keep fighting for Kenya. Let's not give up because we are Kenya. I still remember that wimbo ilikuwa inasema tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu. You know, I love Kenya. We love Kenya. Let's keep fighting. Let's not give up. Change will come.
Okay. I appreciate you. How can people connect with you?
So I don't use much social media. I'm those kind of people who don't use much social media. But I only have Instagram. You can find me at JK Tiara, TIARA.
All right.
And yeah.
Thank you. Irogo,
Yes.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I know I love this. Honestly, me, I'm just addicted to these conversations. So I know I can have these conversations over and over, but a lot has been said here and a lot is going to be thought about. I know our audience, they watch with action in mind. I love how they are, active even in the comment section. I know someone is going to forward their child this video, someone is going to forward their spouse this video, and it's going to definitely reach the right people. So with that in mind and everything that we've spoken about, how would that parting shot look like from your end? And also, how can people connect with you? I think you can wrap this up for us.
Okay. Well, I'll say a Swahili proverb that says ngoma ya upumbavu haikeshi, which basically means the drum of foolishness does not last till dawn. And we've echoed all these sentiments around how our country is headed in the wrong direction. It's clear as day. It's known by the leaders and the misleaders. And the one thing which I would let the common mwananchi, and the common mwananchi is also Ruto, we are all common mwananchi, there's no one who's above the other, is that we all have equal agency. We all have a stake in our country. And it's whether we choose to use it for good or for bad. It's whether we see that the future has purpose or whether the present is what we're going to eat for today. And I think I'll also just tell Kenyans that with this collective and corporate mentality and communal mindset, let's see ourselves as passengers who are caught up in a stolen vehicle. And we are headed right to the edge of the cliff. However, we can do something about it. Whilst we're in the car, all of us as passengers have the ability with our legs, which are targeted, to reach to the brakes and stop it. So I ask every single Kenyan in whichever way we can to reach our legs and hit those brakes. And as I said before, I run an organization called Awado, which is supposed to champion the future leaders of Africa. So you can find me on TikTok at Awado8. Awado is simply AWATHO and the letter and the number 8. Awado itself is a word which signifies self-rule and essentially law. And the A, of course, is for Africa. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Honestly, I can't say this enough, but I've really loved just being here with you. And thank you for making time. I think we've spent the better part of the morning. I think we've spent more than 6 hours trying to put this together. And it's London. You guys have made time, almost the whole day to spend time with us to have this conversation. So I do not take it for granted. Mine is to wish you well, even as you continue advocating for better governance. I know there are challenges. Sometimes you feel like, okay, am I doing it alone? But I think it's good to find your tribe and understand that, there's a whole clan that is coming together to make sure that we participate. And I resonate with what all of you have said. And I think, Oliver, when we do our job right, you will find a better country. I think a better Kenya awaits both of you. We shouldn't be able to look at our bracelets and see bloodshed. That really broke my heart, That actually broke my heart. We should look at it with so much pride. The journey, we should actually be talking about how life was and look at us, how we are doing right now. But we are repeating things that were done to our ancestors, and that alone is not pride. Honestly, that's not pride. But I'm hopeful. The fact that we still wear it is it's ni peace. Inaonyeshana kuna ka hope pahali, and I know it signify kuna ka hope pahali. So let's not lose that, right? All right. Sorry, Rongo. So thank you so much. Oh, what a conversation, guys. I just want to start by appreciating you for tuning in. I know we've done how long, Nguga? almost 3 hours. Yeah, we've been here almost 3 hours, and I know majority of you have watched till the end. So I do not take it for granted that you get to watch this. A lot of you are challenging us, Lynn, put this work on Spotify. We want to listen when we are on our way to work. We are highly considering that, but I just want to appreciate you for taking your time and joining us, you know, in this conversation. Let me know what your feedback is on the comment section, but I can't wind up without thanking my team. I always say it takes an entire tribe to be able to put this work together. So my team here at LNN in UK, I'm here with Joshua and Muga. Really appreciate you for just sitting behind the camera and putting this to work together. The guys who are going to edit this, Wakabi and Sam, really do appreciate you. The management at LNN, Valerie Mutange, and also Scholar Man, we really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everyone that is also interning with us, we really do appreciate your work towards making sure that LNN continues having these thought-provoking conversations here. Also, a huge shout out to our friends here in the UK. You know, when you travel, it's not easy to find a studio that is well lit up. You guys have nice seats and you guys can comfortably sit in someone's studio the whole day. That is not something I take for granted. So Joe and the entire team at Omega TV UK, we really do honor you and we appreciate you, and we just thank you for always making this place home towards us every time we come to have conversations in the UK. That is not something I take for granted. But all in all, we did have an amazing time at Kenyan Friends in the Park. Lydia Tet Olet and her team did an incredible job towards the celebration of 10th anniversary, and I just want to leave you with a snippet of how that looked like. Man, we had fun. My voice ijaenda ati kwa sababu ilikuwa iende. Your girl was there on stage trying to dance, man. I know I can't dance, but I really tried. Yeah, before they take my legs away, I really tried dancing. But I really do appreciate Lydia Tet Olet and her event, Kenyan Friends in the Park. Here is a snippet of how it went down. But before that, if I don't pay bills, guys, I'll have wrong dollar sponsor. So shukran sana, tap tap. If you're in diaspora, you want to send money back home, you know the plug. Try tap tap and let me know how that goes. They have very great rates for you, and also they make sure your money gets home at time, so try them. But if you're looking into investing in a piece of land around Konza City, go to our partners at Hekalu. We've done an amazing job with them. I know our project is sold out, but we launched the second one. So guys, go and get yourself a piece of land if you're in a position to. No pressure. As I said, a snippet ya Kenyan Friends in the Park tulikatika. Shout out of Weneke. By the way, guys, if you need an MC, give Weneke all your money. I promise you this is not an ad. But he did a good job. For those who were there, he did a good job, right? So give Weneke your money, guys. Shout out to my guy, Juakali, Teacher Wanjiku, and everyone that showed up for Kenyan Friends in the Park. See you next year around the same time. That should be in July, the end of July. And I know we are going to have an amazing year. My name is Lynn Ngugi. How about I catch you tomorrow, 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. Acha nikunywe drink. Nitawapatia reviews. Sini sawa? Maybe you'll see it at LNN, but that's about it from my end. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.